Hey everyone, just real quick here at the top of the show, I wanted to let everybody know we're starting a new clips channel. Should be a link showing up top here somewhere. It's to try and find an audience that's looking for shorter content. So if you're here, you probably like the longer stuff. But if you could help us out with a sub, some likes, comment or two, might help the channel gain some initial traction. So if you can help us out, please do. And if you didn't know, live episodes are at twitch.tv/BlazeandBob, usually Friday and Saturday nights. Take it easy. Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I am Bobby, also known as Blazin' Bob, and joined, as always, by the lovely Mel, aka Melarina. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I was thinking during that intro that I read a comment somewhere that somebody thought it was you beatboxing, and that made me chuckle really loud when I read that. They're like, I want to see Bob beatbox on the show, and I was like, no, you do not.
I read that too, and I was like, yeah, that's not me. That is one of our original hosts. It was only on for the first few episodes, Steel Wolf, and he made that and our bumper for the add-on of the week, which we haven't used a lot, but we probably should start that back up because there's quite a few add-ons now that we're using that we haven't talked about here. So I think I will add that in at the end.
Should we just do week or of the week?
There's a few add-ons that I've been getting. We'll save that to the end though. But also we are joined by newcomer to the show, Barbann. How you doing?
How you doing, guys? Feels so weird. I feel like I should be listening.
Nope.
Well, today you're going to be talking, and then I'm just, heads up. It might be hard to listen back. It's hard for me every week when I edit. So just a fair warning.
Just glad I'm here. Happy to give anything I got for the team.
Awesome.
Okay.
And joined by our host, honorary host, Duranasaur. How you doing?
I'm good. It's a nice little snowy Saturday here. So I'm happy to be in my basement playing WoW, talking about WoW.
Nice. Yeah, I heard you on the latest countdown to Classic. I actually got to catch a little of it live, which was cool because I, for some reason, just don't catch those live. I always see the notification like 2 or 3 hours afterwards, but I got to catch some of it live, and then I got to catch it all on Spotify, and so loved that. You guys did the conversation about Ulduar way better than we did when we did it.
I'm pretty sure as soon as Ulduar came out, I just stopped talking because I don't know. I'm like so out of my element with so much stuff in Wrath.
Well, but you were mainly talking about the
dungeons,
heroic pluses, and we tried to do that. I prepped for it and everything. And then we got to the section and I blanked and I didn't have the stuff written down. And it was not my finest segment that I've done on the show, but.
Well, it's like I thought I understood it. And then I looked at the article that was linked and I was like, well, this is not what I thought I understood.
Yep.
And then it just made it more confusing as I started talking. So that was helpful.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot. There was a lot going on with those. And I'm sure you guys, similar to Josh, like tried to make a video pretty quickly after it all came out. Because I remember even being on Josh's show and talking about it. It was everyone just kept saying heroic plus, even though they're called Titan Rune dungeons,
Titan Rune dungeons, and it's Defense Protocol Alpha is what you activate.
So there's classic Blizzard, they put in we all talk about something or like have an idea of what something should be and give it a name and then like go off to the races with it. And then they come in and they're like, they just give it a completely different name. And we're probably going to call it Heroic Plus for like
100%.
the rest of Wrath of the Lich King.
There's no way I'm calling it Titan Rune Dungeon.
I appreciate you giving us that pass, but unfortunately, it was days later, and I'd watched dozens of videos and read a bunch about it and literally blanked. I mean, I was sitting there like a deer in headlights, like, oh, this is the part of live shows I don't like. Like, it was just bad.
Didn't they say somewhere that they were gonna like expand on it and go into beta later on or something?
Yeah. Well, they were saying they were gonna have beta, Charlie. Like they were like, and they were also saying that Ulduar, when we go to TOC, there might be two versions. There might be a version that drops the regular 10-man loot and a version that drops the hard mode loot. So there might be even harder difficulty coming later. So I thought that's kind of neat, that they're doing that. But yeah, it was not our finest segment. All right, well, I'm gonna tell
let's talk about it again so we can really just hammer that point in.
Never escape.
It's like that damn WoW token. It just follows me everywhere. Worst conversation ever. Oh man! All right, so guys,
pretty entertaining from the sidelines.
I want to remind everybody that we stream the show live on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/BlazinBob. That's BLAZZINBOB. You can follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded if you want to know when we go live. I post there every time we go live. I'd like to thank our tank Patreons in Thick Lizzie and Croxford. I'd like to mention Rested XP if you're playing Classic or Retail. They've got everything now. Code Reloaded, or if you like Duranasaur, code Duranasaur. Either one supports either of us and supports a really good company that we are happy to stand behind. So please think about that if you're going to get one. And we're going to go over voicemails. We got 2 of them from the same person, but they're 2 different questions. And then we didn't have any new reviews or emails. We'll go over what we've been doing lately in WoW. Then we're going to get into the news. And then after that, at the end, we're going to have a little Hunter 101, how to play Hunter in Wrath kind of, guide to help people who've maybe boosted a Hunter or, just hit 80 and isn't quite sure. So we're going to talk about that there. All right, let's jump right into it. Okay, so 2 new voicemails. If you guys want to send a voicemail in, it's 816-866-1066. And they've been fun so far, so please keep sending them in. Let's go ahead and roll the first one.
Hey, this is Mark, a.k.a. Goober Bear on Sky Fury, and wanted to hear your guys' thoughts.
Hold on. A little low. I'm going to start it over here.
All right, Mark.
Hey, this is Mark, a.k.a. Goober Bear on Sky Fury. And
could you imagine him walking through like the grocery store or something leaving this?
I don't usually post on Reddit, and we all know that can be a horrible place sometimes. And that's what happened after my post. I made a post about something funny, stupid, about using fish feast and pig feast and just using a whole bunch of them because I have so many. And I posted that. And instead, it kind of went a little crazy with the comments and the likes on it because I am what I now know as a clicker. I'm a clicker. So I didn't have some key bindings used that some people were very clear to point out, and the messages that they sent about which key bindings I should be using and how can you even play like this. And, I play on a laptop. That's just how I play. I don't have the full set of keys to be working with. that you would have on a normal keyboard. My mouse is the same distance as the key is, and I do pretty damn good, if I do say myself, by clicking. So shout out to all the clickers out there that you don't have to play the same way as everybody else. They would, under the guise of we're just trying to help you by telling you about key bindings. I know what key bindings are. Thank you, though. But just pointing it out, it's just conforming to a specific play style or else mentality. And that's not what makes this game fun for me. So you be you do you, like Coco, and, everybody else can do whatever they want. But I think if you're putting up the numbers, and at the end of the day, that's what counts, right? So just wanted to hear your thoughts on that for all the clickers out there. Thanks. Love it.
All right. Well,
my insides.
I think we can all agree.
I gotta ask a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Mark, did I hear that you're using your trackpad mouse as well? Like, is that anybody else hear that?
I didn't until you just pointed it out. Now that you mentioned it, I think you might be onto something there.
That's like, honestly, because like I play like hardcore. I do like weird challenges and stuff. Playing WoW with a trackpad on a laptop without keybinds sounds like the hardest way to play this game.
Dude, so I have a funny story about a trackpad, and it goes back to the last hurricane that just went through Florida while Wrath released, if everybody doesn't remember. And of course, my brother lives in Tampa, right where the hurricane was coming through. And of course, he's in my 5-man dungeon spamming group.
Oh, no.
No.
So we're getting this done. Hurricane, no hurricane, doesn't matter. So he gets in the car with this ThinkPad, right? He makes sure he has all his add-ons. He drives to Daytona where it's going to be safe, quote unquote. And we start leveling, yada, yada, get about halfway. Well, hurricane shifts. Now it's going to Daytona where he is. And all he has is this ThinkPad. We literally went all the way through. I think he made it to 79. And then his power finally went out in the laptop. I mean, his power went out. He had nothing to plug the laptop in. He was watching the battery die. We're like trying to measure everything. Are we going to make it to 80? Oh my God, it was literally the worst experience. If you ask him about it though, resulting back to the ThinkPad is where this story came from. He says it was one of the worst experiences of his life. So shout out to Mark playing on the ThinkPad.
Right?
Yeah, not my style by any means. Yeah. But if you're doing it, dude, like you said, you do you, dude.
Right? Live your own life.
I think we could agree that, clicking is, not as bad as keyboard turning.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. When I first played WoW, when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old, I clicked like everything. It took like me coming back as like a college age player to like really force myself to learn how to like use keybinds and use a lot of keybinds. So it's like there's like a barrier to entry there. But some of the people that I've rated classic WoW with, like from 2019 to this day, they're people who like they parse 99s. They don't like they hit all the mechanics and the timings and everything, and they're like, oh yeah, I click at least half my spells. Like the game is not so hard that should be that's like,
you can't play
the number one thing. Yeah, like you can play this game at a very high level and still click. Like I would argue that's if someone is performing poorly, I don't think that keybinds are the first thing you would go to. So.
Yeah, it would be knowledge.
I think it's one of those things once you get to the higher percentile that separates you from that small gap of the higher percentile. I don't think it's one of the things that's going to put you up there right away.
Yeah.
See, in me, I had played a ton of Ultima Online prior, which didn't even have a section for your buttons. Like the way it worked was you would open your spell book, you would drag spells out and stick them on screen in whatever order you wanted. And then you would click them and click. But since the game revolved, at least for casters, so much around targeting people with the mouse, I immediately learned from other people to keybind the like spells that I really needed, And so lots of them were keybinds. So when I went to WoW, I just immediately set the keybinds, but still to this day, there are plenty of things that I still just click. Like if I pre-pot, I click that. Like I'm not going to waste a keybind for that, like I only have keybinds
100%.
for things I need to hit fast and things I need to hit often,
If I'm only
there's a
hitting them
limit.
once or twice, if I'm only hitting them once or twice a fight, it's probably a click. If it's something I'm hitting repetitively, it's probably a keybind.
Yeah, now my potion during the fight is clicked, but it's clicked with a macroed keybind that's to my Blade Fury, right? Or to, but on my tank, I just watch when my, I click the armor pot to pre-pot, and then I click it once it runs out again. Like, I don't have a keybind for that, and I find that fine, and there's a few other things that I don't keybind that I just don't feel that I need to, so.
Yeah.
And again, there's everybody's everybody's playing on their own level. So it just depends on what level you're playing and what level you want to play at, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's just like it gets a much worse rap than it really is. Cause I know exactly like the idea of like posting a gameplay video to Reddit and having them immediately jump on something like you're a clicker, like that sounds so much like the classic WoW subreddit. Like that is like in the just definition classic WoW subreddit. So I would like, don't ever take the like criticism from classic WoW subreddit as like, oh, this is how everyone is going to judge me and how everyone's going to like, think of me. Like, no, that is a special bubble that I would say like, just let it bounce off you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is I'm pretty sure this is the same guy that sent me a video of him spawning 4 to 5 wrens every run for the Fell Striker, which I'm still unable to do. I'm doing something wrong. He either disappears or I don't know, man. I'm going to need your help on stream sometime. But I immediately noticed that he was clicking everything. So I'm pretty sure it's the same guy, but I wasn't a dick. I was just like, well, he's doing a really good job of this. So, okay, whatever. Like I just thought it was interesting that he was clicking and doing it at such a high level. I was just like, huh, interesting. But I didn't say anything to him, like it's just, I think Reddit's a rough
you're not
place.
Part of that Reddit special community of people that are very nice.
Yeah. I think the nice people get drowned out, unfortunately, on Reddit.
Yep.
If he's doing a good job, though, I'd like to see what he can do with it, like a Naga mouse. That'd be interesting.
That's always the funny thing, too, right? Is like I mentioned there's that guy I've been raiding with who's a clicker. And whenever that conversation comes up with him, it's like, yo, imagine how much better you would be, though, if you like keybound more abilities. And he's like, yeah, I'm just not interested.
Yep. See, I try to tell Classic Go that. But he tells me he doesn't need add-ons, and then he just posts me his Warcraft logs link, and he has all 99s. And then I look at my Warcraft logs. I've got all 96 and 97s with a couple 99s, and I'm like,
maybe you're doing it
okay.
wrong.
So maybe maybe I'm wrong there. Okay,
we all need to click more.
Yeah, literally, right?
Well, Go doesn't click. He just doesn't use add-ons. Doesn't use weak auras. I know. Weird.
Yeah. I don't use a ton of add-ons. People give me a hard time about that, but
see, I use so many that people on stream will be like, what does that? And I'm like, I think it's this, but I'm not sure anymore. This is like, this is a living beast.
Switching between my desktop to my laptop when I'm out of town is really hard because there's inevitably some add-on that I've gotten or that I've changed on my desktop that I didn't remember. And I'm like in there, and I was in I think Deadly Boss Mods like wasn't working. And I was I was raiding, and I think we were on the one with the like positive, negative charges. And it always tells me like danger, danger when you're on the wrong side, right? But it wasn't working, so it wasn't telling me that. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna complete this boss? I have to like look in the corner of my screen to see what my charge is. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Well, I've been playing a bunch of Go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, you're probably going to say exactly what I was about to bring up about the PTR, right?
Yes, dude. It's been it's hard.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, like most people's like LVUI, I think they just flat out said like we're not gonna put out an update just for PTR. So like I know so many people that are just like they're having to play with bare bones add-ons, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, that's how I play.
Well,
Yeah,
and
Like,
that's
I've been training for this.
yeah. There's something to be said about that, because then when you do move over to something like that, like life's not as hard, you know. So I mean, there's something to be said, but I'm an old boomer and I need my add-ons. So, but he did have one more question though.
Hey, it's Goober Bear again. I figured it out when I got all that hate mail. It's not because of the clicking, it's because I play a rogue. So yeah, it's not the clicking, it's the rogue class that gets the hate. So just another question would be, what is the most hated class in WoW right now, in terms of which class gets the most hate that you see for play style, or they're too overpowered, or what do you guys think? I know you play a rogue, Bob, so your insight would be valued. Thanks. Talk to you, bye.
There's a lot of rogue hate. It's so weird to me.
It is justified rogue hate.
But I would feel like it's DKs.
Yeah,
I would agree with
that's what I hate.
That's what I hate.
So my hate toward Rogue lingers from TBC, I think, just because they were always like the chat guy, you know, always the GM, always the guy that got funneled, blah, blah, blah. And I think now, since Wrath, it's kind of twisted and gone DK just because of that daggone freaking death grip, dude.
Death grip is annoying in PvP, especially when they're just getting gripped all over the place. And you know the DKs are mad at each other. Like, you know what I mean?
PvP, my raid lead is going to love that I'm going to call this out because he lost his absolute top. We were in KT. I'm playing my Resto Druid in a split. I get death gripped and silenced and immediately cleave down as I was like the only healer, dude.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow. Because he mind controlled, right?
That was mind controlled. Why the Death Knight did it, I don't remember his excuse. No name calling. We know who you are.
Yeah.
But yes.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I feel like it's DK. And then, I don't know, I've been maining a hunter since like Classic, well, since even before Classic came out. And I feel like hunters are just always a punching bag.
Well, it's your pets, let's be fair. Your pet always does something wrong.
I mean, true, but who gets the blame when the pet does something wrong? People aren't yelling at my pet when it accidentally pulls stuff.
Hey, I was excited just to know Warlocks and DKs were going to have to control one of those crazy loose dogs too.
I'm the worst now though, because when a DK accidentally pulls something with his pet, I'm always like, fucking pet classes. Like, what are you guys doing?
I'm the same way, dude.
Play.
Yep. Someone pulled early on. There was a pull in KT, and they pulled like the whole, one whole side of the room. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, who did that? And I was like, I don't know, but it might have been a DK Gary. And they were like, leave Gary alone. I was like, I don't know, man. I'm just saying, I might have saw Gary out there.
Gary does nothing wrong. We love Gary.
I will say I've seen a lot of hunters be guilty of multi-shot there on the Siren, and they pull the skellies on.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I have not done that yet.
Well, and then a lot of people macro their pets into their moves, and sometimes don't think about that. And so.
Oh, yeah. I think that's what it is with DKs a lot of the time.
Dude, I preach mouse wheel in, mouse wheel out for your pet. It makes life so much easier.
That's what I used to do with Locke in PvP. But I feel like you could also just, use like alt, like an alt or control. Macro. So if you hold down control and hit the same button, like then the pet doesn't go type of deal. And
before I get fried by chat, I'll clear myself. Yes, I know if you have the boss targeted and you scroll up in your chat, your pet will go. I know. Don't target the boss.
Oh man, there was like 1 week I tried messing around with a bunch of macros, like start attack macros and like with like trap weaving and stuff like this, and I was like, I didn't know what was going on because I pulled a lot of them from the Hunter Discord. And we're going to talk about hunters later, but just like be careful with your macros because sometimes there's stuff in there that's like if you're targeting a mob and you like go to use like a complex macro, there's a good chance there's like a start attack in there or like a pet attack, and you're gonna pull shit, and it's not gonna go well.
Yup. Oh yeah, I'm lucky I'm not a hunter because I've got start attack in everything, and I oftentimes am like, "You're not close enough to that target." I'm like, "Oh yeah, escape." Just like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Classic Go said in chat, army on Gluff. Yes, dude, I know.
Oh God, yeah, that happened to us the other day, and we're like, "Okay, note to self: don't do that." He's just like, I mean, army really on anything is pretty annoying. Like the last boss in Azul Nurub, when they pull out army and then it's just killing everybody with the cleave thing or whatever it does.
The cone thing.
Mm.
That's going to be interesting on Mythic Plus.
Yeah. I think there'll be a lot of stuff interesting there. But yeah, thank you for your voicemail. The number is 816-866-1066. So give us a ring. They're a good time. Spark good conversation. All right, guys, what have we been doing in WoW lately? What have you been doing in WoW lately?
Duranasaur, you go first, dude.
Okay. I've been playing a lot of classic era hardcore. Like a lot of classic era hardcore. The classic hardcore community has just been like kind of blowing up lately. And I think it's a lot of it is just because people are raid logging on, 1, 2, 3, 4 characters in Wrath. And rather than leveling up another one and raid logging on another character, the hardcore itch seems to be spreading like some sort of disease. So I've been playing a ton of that lately and still like raiding full time on 3 characters in Wrath and starting to like PTR, Ulduar and stuff like that. But
I've seen a lot of people doing that. Yeah, I've seen that start up a bunch.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, I don't want to like get on like a soapbox with hardcore stuff right now, but like a Grind came into my chat while I was streaming hardcore and just casually asked me and the people in the chat, he's like, hey, if hypothetically we could make hardcore servers, what kind of stuff would you want? And I think from that was like a week and a half ago. And like, then he did that with a few other people streaming, and he's since talked to a few of the mods of the hardcore community. And we're like, this is a cool thing. So that's gotten a lot of us, I think, very excited about hardcore in general. So not only are we like playing it again, we're also like, ooh, maybe we will get the thing that we want. So yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Nice. Yeah, it's been a bunch, and then Cargos is doing like a hardcore cup, I think, here soon. I'll put that in the notes.
We're doing it's a hardcore fresh day. So next Thursday, December 15th, I think we're going to start it at 1 p.m. Eastern for those playing on North American servers. And then for EU, it'll start earlier, just so that it accommodates them better on EU servers. And it's just a hey, if you've played hardcore in the past, come back, start a new character, have fun with the community. If you currently are playing, start a new character, have fun with the community, and then we're just gonna play some hardcore. So it's just like an excuse, I guess, to come and mess around.
The promos for it have been great because it's songs that they're doing, Christmas songs, and it's like Cargos and Wiki and Lesbos, and it's so funny. Like, I mean, and they're so good. Like, the lyrics like crack me up. So I'll put some of those in the notes so you guys can check them out. But yeah, I've been enjoying that quite a bit, and yeah, I would love hardcore servers. Is it going to be on a Wrath Fresh server, or is it going to be on a Season of Mastery? Or
so it's on Classic Era. Yeah. So if you are on your Battle.net launcher, if you play Wrath of the Lich King, there's the Wrath of the Lich King Classic game, and then there should also be an option to just play World of Warcraft Classic. So if you boot up World of Warcraft Classic, when you get to the like server selection screen, just make sure you're on the Classic Era tab at the bottom, and then all kinds of like all the information about like what servers the hardcore community's on and the guild names and things like that. That's all in the hardcore Discord. So if you're interested, I would say join that and come check us out.
Yeah, I think I'll probably participate. Sounds like a good time, and I'm pretty sure I'm free on Thursday. So
yeah.
All right. Well, Mel, Barbann, what do you guys want to go?
I'll set first, whatever.
Yeah.
We've been doing just a bunch of splits, raid logging, like most people. Got super excited this week with the PTR dropping. We got also announcement of the experience bonus that's coming out. Super exciting for anybody that has alts. I think here over Christmas break, we're planning to put our our mains together and run our big Farce run, Immortal run. We haven't had the chance to do that yet. Other than that, man, it's pretty quiet around here.
Got it. Mel?
Yeah, I was traveling, so I raided on Tuesday on my laptop. And I always think when I go, I'm like, yeah, I have my laptop, I'm available if you need me. And I always think they're going to be like, no, Mel, we don't need your laggy hotel internet. And they always need me. So I don't know why I still think that, but we're already down one
Priest
viewer.
is pretty important right now.
Well, Mel is pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a ThinkPad though?
It is not a ThinkPad.
No, it's a
And
fancy
I have a real
gaming
mouse.
laptop.
I have a real mouse. Because no. But I don't have a good mic. So like it sounds like I'm like in, a desert 1,000 miles away when I try to talk. So I just don't really talk, right? Well, when you're mind controlling on that one boss, it's really hard when you can't talk. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was fun. Yep. I died 3 times. I don't even know how I died. I don't know how I died. I died 3 times. Like, that's a lot. At the end. And then I died a 4th time at the end. And I had like a 2-minute res timer. And I was like, okay, well, I'll see you guys in a little bit, I guess. Have fun.
You also...
We had a... Go ahead.
Oh, no, go.
I was going to say, so our priest didn't know, I swear I didn't know how for whatever 8-9 weeks it's been now, that just running the mind control away out of range and breaking the mind control was easier than dropping it because of the distance it took the mob to cover and the amount of hits they were taking. But it took them 8 weeks to figure that out, and now it's easy peasy.
Yeah, I don't do that either. Yeah, no.
She did find a way to fake lagging out, though, pretty good. Oh. She found a way to just be like...
Yeah, guys, I did it perfectly. I don't know what you guys are doing over there, but I was like right on point.
No, you don't know what I'm talking about, where you bound push to talk and
that was on my desktop.
Mute
that
together.
Was the week before. Yeah, so I use mic mute for the podcast, right? And it's the same button as my push to talk for raid in Discord. And so I was pushing to talk, but it was just mute, unmute, mute, unmute, mute, unmute, mute, unmute the whole time. And everybody's like, Mel, what? What are you saying? And it was like, I don't understand. Why can't you guys hear me? And they're like, I don't, no, we can't hear anything, Mel. And I'm like, okay, well, fine.
When she's out of town and her mic's really bad.
Right? I can hear me.
It's hilarious because she'll talk and say something, and then our like raid lead, Harskar, will answer her back and like heard her perfectly. And then me and Yip are like, well, I'm glad you understood that because I didn't catch that at all.
Yep.
Right person to have in charge then. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Only Harskar. He understands. That's all. He is the only one that needs to. But yeah, that was so much fun. Then other than that, I got back and Bob got mad at me because I didn't want to play. And yeah, I was like, I traveled all day. Like, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And he's like, I don't understand you. It's like,
we have
if I
all
would have been
level.
on all week.
You've been out of town. The first thing I'd want to do when I got back is play.
No.
I'm with him on that.
No.
Like, I don't care what we do.
I wanted to watch Netflix, and I wanted to not sit in a chair.
Oh, what are you watching on Netflix?
We watched
Well,
a
is that
weird
the
one.
finish? The Imperfects.
Yeah, it was the show that got canceled
That's
like
interesting.
first season, but wasn't half bad. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't like great, but today we caught up on the new episodes of Mythic Quest, which
Do you watch that?
is just amazing.
That's the guy from Always Sunny, right?
Yeah, and it's on Apple, and it is phenomenal, dude. It's so good.
Mhm.
It's so good. It's high humor. It's so good. And then we caught up on Slow Horses, which is amazing. That's also on Apple. It's basically about the like B squad of MI5. Whichever MI is
MI5.
their version of the FBI, because they have MI5 and 6, which is the FBI and the CIA, but I don't know. Whichever one is domestic, but they're like where you get sent when you screw up, get sent to Slough House, and they're referred to as the Slow Horses, and that's great. It's a great show.
It's good.
Nice.
My TV could have nothing but cops on it, and I would be happy.
The cops.
It's the greatest show in the world.
Cops, what you gonna do? Bad boys, bad boys.
The new, have you seen the spinoff, the live PD, where they do like riding around with cops live? It's great. They do it like Friday, Saturday nights.
That'd be something Mel would probably like. She loves all the cop shows. Law and
I don't
Order.
think I'm watching any cop show. Oh, okay. I watch Law and Order SVU. That's the only one I watch.
Classic. Absolute classic.
Right? Like, don't judge me, Bob.
I'm not. I'm just saying it's something you like. But yeah. But yeah. You also helped with some achievements for my rogue.
Oh yeah, the most fun ever is going and doing all of the old dungeons in TBC for Bob.
Oh, doing those achievements.
Yep, heroics. Just tried to knock out easy things when we can, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I learned how to think on my pally, you know.
How like, so you're sort of doing like mount farming, achievement hunting, that kind of stuff, right, Bob?
Yeah, it's what I do a lot during the day and stuff.
Okay, so like, do you think that you're in like the top like 1%?
No,
of like achievement points or anything?
No, I screwed up, man. I should have used my warrior. Because my warrior did all the stuff, all going through, you know, everything. Whereas my rogue, I boosted to 58, and then just quested, you know, and didn't do dungeons. Went right into GDKPs, you know, and then like, so I've got all the raids except for Kel'Thas, which I should have done that in a GDKP before it was over. It was so dumb, but I'm like having to go catch up. Like I would have had Lore Master now, but I didn't think about the fact that I was going to have to do hundreds of quests in the old world. Like, but it's been kind of fun because, you know, I'm just getting, it's just stuff to do all the time, you know? So
yeah,
it just adds fun to me. And I just have fun because I don't have to do it. You know, I can be like, oh, well, I got 15 minutes to kill. I'll go do this achievement real quick, you know, that type of deal. But
that's what makes it the world of Warcraft and not the world of Naxxramas.
Yep. Yep. Basically.
We did 4-man Ani. That was fun.
Yeah. We did that at the end of the stream. Was that just last night? I think that was just last night. Yeah, I didn't think we could do it, but it was surprising. Like we did have Classic Go, which basically I don't know how we would have done the air phase if we hadn't had Classic Go. But he was there on his level 75 Boomkin, so he wasn't even level 80. We just had a Holy Priest, a Prop Paladin, and a Combat Rogue. But I guess a Prop Paladin can solo it, so I mean it's not like it's. I guess I didn't really know, you know, how easy it is now,
right?
Yeah. So, but
doesn't that come back with TOGC?
That's what I was going to ask.
The new one comes, so you have to get the achievement done now if you want that achievement because the old one will be gone.
Note taken.
So, like, there'll be an Ani that's level 83 that'll be coming. It'll be dropping like TOC size loot. A lot of people, well, I think it actually came between TOC and ICC. I'm not really sure, but a lot of people are wanting it during TOC to add.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it'd be better.
Is it at her normal location?
Yeah.
So it's just like go do Oni.
Yep. And I don't know if she got like I don't remember doing it back in the day. I did it, but I don't remember it. I don't remember if there was new mechanics or not. Like I don't remember anything
There's got to be
about
something different, right?
I don't know.
The loot.
Yeah, the loot. Yeah.
Fair.
But yeah, for me, I've just been farming the Fell Striker, which has taken just way too much time and failing to spawn more than one rend. Like he either like, hey, I just got a damn drop from Twitch chat, from my own Twitch chat. Awesome. But
yeah, retail stuff.
Yay.
Yeah.
I haven't played retail again since we talked about last time. Mel and I thought about it last night, but we were like, yeah, we'll go do TBC dungeons instead.
Yeah.
But I'll play it. I'm going to be guesting on WoW Talk to talk about it next week sometime. So I'll definitely be playing it some during the day, maybe. But yeah, I've just been doing achievements and just been making money basically and dailies. And yeah, I didn't play as much this week as I have in past weeks, but plan on getting in some PTR, but I haven't done that yet either. I've just been kind of dragging my feet a bit this week, but we'll get back into it soon.
Till Wednesday, I think they said.
Yeah,
I think they extended it a little bit.
Yep.
Oh.
All right, well, let's move into time for the news. All right, in the news this week. So I thought this was perfect. We have two hunters on, and yeah. So there was a, well, we're not going to call it a bug, but there was a clever use of game mechanics that was allowing hunters to have multiple ranks of Volley active at the same time. And Cargos made a video about it, and of course, immediately it got fixed, because that's what, Cargos, or not Cargos, Sarth made a video about it. My bad. Because Sarth is the Blizzard Whisperer, and, if you want something fixed, just go to Sarth. Sarth, if I get my Fell Striker and you have them fix it right after I get it, I know where you live. Abouts. Okay. No, I'm kidding.
I think you're safe on that one. There's so many interesting gimmicks in Wrath of Lich King, and I feel like there's a time period, right, where it's like if they last past like a couple weeks, then they're probably never going to get fixed. But so many of them are they're getting found out about, and then Sarth or someone makes a video, and then they just are getting fixed right away. But yeah, this one I feel bad because I think he made that video and everything, and I didn't have any raids on my hunter until after it got fixed. So I got no opportunity to even play around with it.
Oh man.
So dude, let me start off and say it happened on Thursday and my raid night was Thursday.
Oh.
And buddy, it was literally insane. I mean, I was down, I got so good at it, I was down ranking 3, 4, 5. And it was just, my computer, I couldn't even see the mechanics on the floor because of the amount of numbers that were popping up everywhere.
Oh my God.
It was great. I think I put it in the chat there, I sent it there. That's just trash damage there. I finished with 10.5 million damage done on trash. And then number 4 was 6.67.
That's crazy.
It was
Yeah.
great. I took full advantage of it. I knew it was going to get fixed. If you even went to the target dummies the day it happened, there was hunters everywhere.
Oh yeah, I went over there and started like learning how to do it. But yeah, I think our first raid that I would have been able to use it in was like Monday, and I think it got patched by Monday night before our raid.
That's
And I was just like, okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it didn't feel good when I went back in without it. I was like, oh man, which is what I figured was going to happen. So
Yeah,
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. It would be cool to still be able to do it, but I'm just happy that they never fixed the 434 explosive shot
yes,
down ranking.
and that was a fear of ours too, that they were going to fix that with the volley thing at the same time.
Yeah.
And
The
you
Hunter
thought that
Discord
because
called it,
of
though.
you thought that because of PvP, right? That's where everybody's complaining about it the most, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't even make sense to me because Survival Hunter is the worst PvP spec for hunters. Like if like someone pointed it out, because I started asking people in my guild that do a lot more arenas than me and they follow the competitive Wrath arena scene. And I was like, does this 434 actually matter? And they were like, no, it doesn't matter at all. In an arena like PvP sense, the only people that are complaining about this are people that are like at lower ratings that are like they're just running into people messing around with it. But at the highest level, like it's not actually going to impact arenas in any way.
Generally marksman runs better for PvP anyways for owner.
Oh yeah, if you can, marksman is like everyone that I've talked to. I haven't actually tried it, but everyone says like marksman. Hunters in arena are like the highest APM, highest skill cap thing you can do in arenas. So you either do that or you do BM, which actually does really well too. It's just way less APM. So
Nice. Yeah, well, unfortunately it didn't stay for you, but if it would have stayed, like I don't know. I mean, it didn't help really on bosses, right?
only bosses with ads. So like, yeah, like a Nubracon, Faralina, fights like that where you could like you actually like benefit a decent amount from multi-target. I think, I don't know, the fact that people were probably going to get to the point where they were able to stack like what Bar was saying, like 4 or 5 ranks on top of each other. At that point, like it may actually be more DPS single target, and like that kind of feels bad.
Yeah, and it did not feel good. Like it was nice number wise, but like it did not feel good. It felt like kind of like you were cheating. And not only that, dude, it was so mana intensive. Holy crap.
Oh yeah, there's that too. Yeah, you would just run out of mana on boss fights and stuff. But yeah, it got fixed, so I don't have to get good at it. That's like the one like silver lining.
You know what I want him to fix? Because I don't want to, like, I want him to fix the stupid weapon swapping for procs on enchants. Like,
Yeah.
like especially the weak aura being able to do it automatically.
I thought they broke that, but maybe that was something else.
Maybe they did.
And the gem swapping, I'm not a fan of the gem swapping. I'm sure I'll catch hate on that, but
yeah,
well, the gem swapping is at least a pain in the fucking ass, right? You know,
like, you gotta like have a mailbox next to you in the fight. Like what?
Yeah, at least it's extremely annoying. Whereas like this is just so easy. They just get the weak aura, takes less than 3 minutes to set up, and then bada bing, bada boom, they're just getting all kinds of extra stuff. And I think I'm going to look into it before Tuesday because I just got my webbed death. So I've got my paper cutter.
That's big. Grats.
Yeah, thank you. And so now I could be swapping the offhand for Berserk procs. And I think there is some setup for that. So I was going to look into that, but I don't want to look into it. I want it to not be a thing.
I feel like I've heard people talk about this a lot. And the one thing that the opinion of it that I like the most is that if the weapon that like procced the enchant gets swapped out, you lose the buff. It just disappears, right? Because I think that's how it works. That's how it works with a lot of weapon on use things, right? Like I think that if you like, I haven't tested like the hyperspeed glove engineering enchant, but my thought is that like if you pop that and then swap to a different pair of gloves, I think you lose the speed, the attack, or the haste buff, I guess, from it.
You should, if you ask me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
That
you ask
makes
me, you
sense
should.
to me. So like it should work the same way with enchants. If an enchant procs on a weapon, then you swap that weapon off, you should lose whatever buff it procced.
Yeah, and what they were doing with the hyperspeed accelerators, I think, was they were switching between trash packs.
Yeah.
And you could do that.
yeah.
And I mean, I don't really have a problem with that if they really want to get into that for speed running. That's not going to hurt, parses and make it harder to parse. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the weapon swap things and stuff of that nature, it's just kind of reminds me of chamois swapping for multiple lusts, and that never felt good in TBC. So
Yeah.
Not only that, if you're the person that's weapon swapping, let's be honest, it doesn't, I mean, at least in my shoes, it would not feel good to take two whatever hailstorms and one of them's just going to be in your bag.
yeah, I mean, I would just do it with the librarian's paper cutter, but yeah, it'd feel, unless you just had stuff getting disenchanted, it'd feel really bad to give that to someone who's getting a second one when a other guildie could use it right now as their first one. That would feel really bad too.
Or even having to be the guy that has to decide that.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
True. Shout out to Harskar, who's doing a great job as our, not just Harskar, but the whole guild council doing a, council loot now, which is something they've started here in Wrath, which is a lot of work. Yeah, so it is fixed, and now we'll move on to the Wrath Classic PTR raid schedule. So we talked about it a little bit earlier. It has started, and it's going to run until, what did we say? Wednesday.
I believe it's Wednesday.
14th. So when you hear this on Tuesday, you'll have at least a day, but if you're doing PTR testing, I'm guessing you're already on there, but I just wanted to mention it in the news for anybody that might not know.
Let's talk about that Flame Leviathan hard mode for a second. Dear God.
Let's talk about, you guys have played the PTR. I've only just watched some of stuff, but haven't played it. So what are your initial thoughts here?
I think it's going to be challenging for a lot of guilds. I think a lot of guilds are definitely going to find out what kind of players they have, if they're hardcore or not. I also think it's going to make a lot of guilds grow, because this is not Nax. I'll start by saying that this is not Nax at all.
Yeah.
Like Flame Leviathan, I know I can say a lot of people are skipping it right now on hard mode just because it's a little out of control, and it's also one of those fights that's going to get easier throughout the time because the vehicles scale with eye level.
Yep.
The next two bosses, there's no hard modes on them, I believe. You get to XT. We did XT hard mode. We actually pushed the heart by mistake, so without heroism, might I add.
Ooh.
Then we rolled into Iron Council. We got that down. That took about, 10 pulls on hard mode. We got that down. The guy with the arms next is a rollover fight. The cat lady, the whole thing for us was setting up the pool. You'll lose 3 or 4 people on the pool if you don't pull it right. After that, it was pretty easy. Hodir hard mode's definitely a DPS check. And then we stopped there, so I can't go any further than that.
Gotcha. Yeah, and you were talking about, so if anybody doesn't know the way vehicles work, at least in raids, I think it works this way in questing too, but the power of your vehicles, moves and weapons just scale straight up from the eye level of your gear. So what we've actually been doing is anything over 213, we're making sure not to disenchant any of that, and we're trying to just give it to people. It might not even be something for their class, right? It's just like I got Sinister Revenge, and I'm not but no one else wanted it. So I got it for off spec if I want to mess around with assassination. But for that fight, I'll have that in my offhand with Calamity's Grasp in my main hand, just bringing up eye level for Flame Leviathan specifically. So that's something we've been doing just to like try and like power up, people for that fight specifically. So if that's something that, people might not think about, but is a good call right now, because there is some of that big gear that's over 213 that's getting disenchanted, and it might come in handy here at the start of Ulduar.
Is this fight?
Yeah.
What do I have to do? This sounds like this is going to be miserable.
I don't remember what you used to do back in the day. I used to always do the motorcycle, but sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was going to explain it to her. It's like it's basically a big tank, and there's like 3 types of vehicles, which I think are siege engines, demolishers, and motorcycles, and they all have different roles. Some of them have like 2 slots, so like 2 people can ride in them. It's quite an interesting fight. You can dumb it down with like no towers. He has these towers around him, and you break down the towers and he loses mechanics. It's quite pushover when you have none of the towers, so it's not anything to be scared of. But definitely the hard mode 4 towers is going to push your raid to its max, and you guys are going to get really coordinated.
Trying to think of what you did back in the day, Mel. I always know I was the bike. I didn't do anything ever but the bike. But we had it broken down by classes. I think you did a turret in one of the vehicles or something, like, but you did it every week. Remember, we killed the big old tank at the end.
Nope,
like everybody gets in a vehicle.
Might I add, we've had some comical moments of people getting loaded in the demolisher, and you have to launch them on top of the tank to kill the guns to like shut him down, and he takes extra damage.
Yep.
Well, in that mechanic, you can overshoot the boss and kill the person.
I take that back. I did do that a few different times, I think, but only on hard modes. I think I always just claimed the bike quickly because I never had a mechano hog back in the day. And that was like my one time a week I got to be in a mechano hog. So I was like, I'm taking the bike.
Yeah, I watched on stream. I watched some of our guild. Our guild's broken up into 5 different raid teams, but I've watched our hardcore guild do like Algalon pulls. Shout out to Diamond Onyx. Those are the boys. They get it done. But yeah, that Algalon fight is that's rough, dude. They were saying these hits harder than Brutalis was if you do the scaling.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, they did I want to say they did like 15 pools, and they were like, hey, let's not like waste the night here. We'll come back and do a whole night here, but let's get the rest down.
Yeah, I did hear that he was just slapping super, super hard.
Did you try any Duranasaur yet?
I haven't yet. Our guild did PTR Thursday night, but I went to a birthday party instead. But we're planning on doing, I think they're doing more tonight, and we might do more Monday night. But I've been watching, like I watched Jordy do stuff with Fusion, which is like, it's awesome that Fusion is so open with their like streaming of their like PTR and progression stuff. The thing that's tough though is that like they are not your average guild. Yeah. So you can watch them and be like, oh, okay, I see how this fight is. It looks pretty easy. But they're playing at like such a higher level than the average guild that it's like they're making hard modes look way easier than they're going to be. So it's something to keep in your guild, and you're like,
well,
yeah,
that's not what it looked like when I watched it.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I've just been watching stuff. Been hearing a lot of stuff. What I've been hearing from people is that they love the difficulty level of the hard mode fights, and that the difficulty level of the, I guess, like normal mode is like right where it should be, right? Like the average guild is going to be able to go in and clear the raid without any hard modes activated, probably week 1. And then the really, really top tier guilds might do all the hard modes week 1, but they might not even be able to do that. So it sounds like it's kind of right where it needs to be.
Yeah.
I saw a schedule that someone posted. I think it was on Reddit or somewhere, but basically was like a 9-week progression for the average guild to get all hard modes down. It was like averaging 9 weeks is what the Sims were saying.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I think that's like, I love, this is another one of those instances where if you had asked me 3 or 4 years ago, like, hey, what do you think of retail's method of having like multiple difficulties of a raid? 3 or 4 years ago, I would have been like, it's silly. Like, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense, whatever. And now that I'm here in Classic, we're in Wrath, I absolutely see why it exists. Like it does in retail. I see where that progression came from. And I think that it's the right call because there's so many people of so many different skill levels who play this game. And everyone, like at a certain point, I think wants somewhat of a challenge. So you have to, I think that's the only way to do it is like to basically either do what they're doing in Ulduar or do something similar to retail where it's like you either have like these extra hard mode achievement type things with maybe extra loot built into one raid, or you break it up and you have different like difficulty levels of the same raid. And I just like, it's so funny because there's been a few of these instances now with like Classic where I'm like, oh, I totally get why retail ended up the way that it did. And a lot of the times it's stuff that, you know, years ago I would have been like, that's like why WoW is bad. And now I'm here and I'm like, no, that's actually a good change. I can see that.
See,
Oh yeah.
I'm with you to a certain extent. I think the problem with retail is they took it too far with mythic rating. And I actually like that they took it that far. I don't like that it gives way better gear. I've never liked that. I've always thought that the top end players should be playing for the renown. And like, I also always have thought it would make it much more because when I watch Fusion or I watch Progress or I, watch any of these different really good guilds, it's more impressive to me because I know they're doing it with the same gear that I have, right? And like, I always feel like people can always write off retail mythic rating because they're like, well, if I didn't have a job and could do this full time, then yeah, I could be just as good, and I've always not liked that part. And yeah, that's where I'm at it with that. But I do like the different difficulties. And I think that the hard modes in Wrath aren't hard enough to where, and especially since they're figured out, already basically, for the most part, makes it okay, right?
Yeah.
But back in the day, it did feel pretty bad for a lot of people because there wasn't even a ton of people in Ulduar clearing the whole thing, let alone the hard modes. So you would see these guys with these items and, I was one of the guys with the items, but friends and stuff, I had a ton of friends that played back then and they'd just be like, I'm just never going to get that. Like you raid 5 times a week for 5 to 8 hours a night. Like I can't do that. And I'm never going to have this. And so I think I'm going to quit. I'll see you later. And it's like, it's just like, that's the only problem that I have with it. But I love the extra difficulty and I love seeing what the most skilled people can do with that. I just don't love the reward system, I guess.
Yeah.
I got excited when I heard about, forget who it was you had on here that did the low level rating.
Oh, was that Jamin?
I believe so. That sounds fun, dude.
Yeah, the noob, it was either the noob core or
that sounds correct. Yeah.
Because we had
Jamin,
we had Angry Druid on talking about the achievement Discord where unfortunately it's huge on Faralita, hasn't got a huge following on Benediction, but that'd be great to like run old raids to knock out your old achievements and stuff easy, and stuff like that. But yeah, the noob core is some crazy intense shit. The only thing that sucks about noob core is there's just certain classes. Like I want Jama to start up noob core on Wrath client really bad because I feel like there'll be a lot more classes that you could take into those super low dungeons. Whereas right now you're crazy not to bring, hunters, crazy not to tank with a a fishing pole, but I think the Wrath client, I just as a guess, but I think the talents and everything it changes would really be kind of neat to see in Noobcore. But I don't know if he has any plans or not.
Well, hopefully he's listening.
Maybe, or maybe somebody can send him a clip.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the next thing, I don't really know anything about this, but I thought I would bring it up. And if either of you could add to anything, but basically Warcraft logs, speedrun, and parsing rules have been put up. They're doing things on a point system based on if you do hard modes or not, and so and then there's optional bosses, but I don't actually understand how the whole point system works. And I read through it and it kind of hurt my brain a little bit, but does anybody have anything to add?
I mean,
from what I got of it, it was super basic. It was like, I guess what it was is to basically have everybody on the same grading scale. Because if you did the typical, the way I was told, if you ever read the Goosebumps books back in the day, at the bottom of the page, you would get like a decision, go to page 32 or go to page 64. And you get like two different outcomes based on it, just on how you decide to read the book, I guess. So this goes into having so many different options on bosses and hard modes. It would just, it's putting everybody on the same grading scales, the way I got told.
Yeah. This is just for progression rankings too, right? I think. I'm not 100% sure. It's an interesting thing for sure. I don't know. I'm sort of a purist when it comes to like speedrunning and like progression type stuff, because like I think that for progress it should just be like who clears the final boss the first time. And anything more than that, I feel like is like there's optional bosses, right? And there's optional hard modes. But I totally get where they're coming from, because it's like the race is going to be way more fun and way more interesting if the like top guilds are incentivized to do the hard modes like day one world first race. And
even Blizzard, I don't know if I have that in the notes or not, but even Blizzard's making the actual in-game world first achievement.
Oh yeah.
For all hard modes, everything. Like, you got to do everything to knock out that actual world first. And like, they don't want people to decide whether or not they want to skip loot or skip something just to get a world first. So they're just basically straight up saying, everything dead, you get the achievement. So
yeah,
but Warcraft Logs is a different governing body.
Does that come with anything nifty? What is that, a title?
It's a title, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually, but I'm guessing a title. I don't think it would be a mount or anything, but I'm not saying don't do that.
Then it would have to be an exclusive mount, right? Because only 25 people get it.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't really give like a glad mount. I think that would be, pushing it too far. Like, like it would feel bad for people who had gotten glad mounts in the past, but I feel like you could just give them a random really hard mount to get, like Headless Horseman or what's it called, the bird from Kilthos, like something like really
Raven Lord, something like that.
Or the one from
Alar mount.
Alar, yeah, or the Baron mount, something that's like extremely hard to get drop wise. Could be kind of cool.
Can make everybody mad and give them a Spectral Tiger.
That would be one thing that I'd be okay with them giving out for, like those types of like huge achievements. Like that would be one thing I would be okay with them doing.
Because like my thought process behind all of it, not saying it's okay, I'm just saying there's only 25 people that are going to get it.
On each, yeah,
correct.
You do it just just world first and not server first, right? And then it literally, but then that server that the world first was on would have a lot of people with it, you know, they'd have 25.
Oh yeah. And then I guess you run into the problem of like, I saw some people doing when Wrath dropped, go into those no-name servers, getting the titles.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's
I guess if you're trying
to
spread the population, that's the start of it, right?
maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm gonna have it in the notes if anybody wants to go through it. But also just a heads up, a lot of it, they're kind of asking for the community to come in their Discord and give them ideas of how they think it should go. Like some people are saying for speed runs, like they don't even want the speed run to start until Flame Leviathan is dead, you know, and Warcraft logs is saying that's a little hard for us to code. We don't know if we're gonna have enough time to do that, you know, and so there's a lot of stuff still up in the air. So if you want your voice heard, definitely check out this article in the notes and join their Discord and, you know, give your 2 cents because you might have better ideas.
Somebody else in the chat said they wiped on it for 2 hours. We did the same thing before we were like, all right, let's just kill it.
Oh, man. All right. Well, yep. So then the next thing is basically there's way too much to go over, but they did a big, long blue post of the tuning for Ulduar, the stuff that they changed. And I mean, there is a ton. It'll be in the show notes, but I want to give anybody, if you wanted to, like a chance to like say something about the changes, but I really don't have a lot to say about them yet.
Yeah. I mean, big shout out to Tim Jones on the WoW Classic team. Because I feel like he's one of the key people behind all this stuff. Like based on they did that long form discussion with the community council. And I love what they're doing. And I love that they're not just all of these like changes to make it more difficult. It's all stuff that they either like did in the past and then like nerfed, or it's stuff that they've at least like experimented with in the past. So it's like, it's not like they're coming up with new things or they're fundamentally changing anything about the raids. They're like, oh no, this is stuff that like at one point or another was in the game or was potential or was like set to be in the game. And so big shout out to those guys.
And huge shout out to Tim because he didn't take the lazy way either. He didn't just give you the pre-nerfs. He even went forward and found things that were changed to become harder and added those in as well. So you're literally getting the hardest form that he could possibly come up with. And I guess he's like a whiz with SQL Server. Anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's a database software that Microsoft provides that runs your databases. I worked with it a ton in the past. And when you find a whiz like Tim, you definitely kind of like lean on him because it's an art along with a skill.
Yeah, it sounds like even during that community council interview, at one point they were like, they asked him about the Yogg 0 changes, and he was like, oh, I've just like drafted an email on this. Let me open up my spreadsheets. And it was just like the way that he said it was very much like, oh, he's been diving deep into this stuff. And he's just got like tons of data and ideas and just like different versions of different fights, just all like categorized and like spelled out. And I feel like at a certain point he's going to be like Charlie in the mailroom with like all this stuff on the walls, and he's just like, okay, how do we make this fight the perfect fight? And I think it's awesome. I love that he's there doing that.
I think it's
somebody at work that'll send me these like insane spreadsheets with like all these pivot tables and all of this stuff in it, and I'm just like, I don't. Thank you. I mean, I'm not supposed to do that, right? Like, I don't know how to do that. And kind of read it. I
think it's the proper approach though to like what was, let's just say, the best raid of World of Warcraft. You know, I think it's do that. I would be upset if it was anything less.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that like for a lot of the the members of the classic team. That's why they're doing a lot of things they're doing in terms of like the item level scaling and all this stuff. Like from day one, like even before Wrath came out, they were like, we want Ulduar to last longer and to be better and be more impactful throughout the whole expansion, because we know that it's like, you know, a lot of people's favorite raid of all time across all expansions, even up until like retail.
Well, you know, that was my idea, right?
Oh yeah,
the item level change. I talked about it 6 weeks prior to them even ever coming out and talking. Now, I preferred them to nerf the gear in TOC and IACC, which was the first plan that they came out with. But in the same sentence, that 6 weeks prior, I have said, if you can't do that, then a compromise for me would be buff the Ulduar gear and just make Ulduar more important going on. And so, yeah, I loved it when that came out. And I brought Scotty J and Classic Go on to like talk to me about it. And they hated the idea. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, oh no, it was, I did 2 different conversations about it. I brought Rugs on too. Later on to talk about it, but they hated the idea, and I was like, I love this idea. Like, come on.
I think it's a great idea, especially because it's going to make Ulduar more relevant even when the new stuff drops.
Yeah, I think I just love it because it shows. I think we've gotten far enough into Classic now that they realize they can tweak stuff, right? They don't have to try to just give us as close to what we got back in the day as possible. They can actually say like, hey, we're going to mess around with some stuff because we think we have an idea of what you guys actually want versus what you got originally. Right. And so we're going to mess around with stuff a little bit. And I think that it's all been in like a really good direction, at least through the course of Wrath.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah. I think it's been great. And just a shout out still, give us more of those community councils. Like that felt so good. And I think Josh said it the best. You know, he said my thoughts exactly. This was way better than some overproduced. We're sitting in the Blizzard offices in the area that's got all the cool wingdings. And oh my God, we're so excited about this. And like, this was so much better. It like made them seem like human. And then the best was like when they got different ideas from like the different community council people, they're like, oh, that's a really good idea. Oh, yeah. I hadn't thought about that, you know, and it's just neat to see them actually taking, you know, people in the community's thoughts. It was just, I mean, it was awesome. It was the coolest thing I think I've seen since Classic came out, you know.
I think it also, it humanizes all of them, which I think is important because I think that there's so many people who play Classic WoW who just, you know, the running joke is, hey, the one intern who runs Classic WoW must be on vacation this week. And it's like, no, there's like a full team of people there. They care a ton about this. They play the game, right? Like I don't know how many people even realize that like a Grind raids full time. I think like Tim Jones raids full time in Wrath. Like they play the game, they're invested in it. And the more of this stuff that they do, where they're just like they're like open to just like casual conversations about the game, the more that like the community will actually understand that instead of, you know, just complaining into thin air about the way that things are going, know that they're listening, right? So if there are things that are wrong with the game that you want to see change, like voice it in a reasonable way, give feedback, give suggestions, because they're listening.
And they're jumping in streams. Like if you stream, be careful, and not just the big streamers. They're jumping in smaller streams. Like they might just pipe up and say something in your chat. So you know.
The way me and my buddies put it after was, it just gave that feeling of there's like, you know, there's no better feeling than being a part of the team. You know what I mean? It gave us that sense of being part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Well said. Well said. All right. And then the last part of the news. So Joyous Journeys is coming back. It's coming back from December 13th through January 16th. Now, real quickly, before we talk about Joyous Journeys, this kind of gives us an indication of when Ulduar is coming out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. It looks like mid-January.
Yeah, I think that's been a lot of people's guesses too, right? But yeah, I think this is just another piece of evidence that points at that for sure.
Yeah, but it is pretty cool, and we've asked about it in the creators Discord a bunch. Like, do you think you'll bring this back? We even talked about it with them in person. I think you were part of that conversation, D, when we were there at Twitch, TwitchCon. We were just
TwitchCon, yeah.
It felt really good.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I don't think anyone's going to complain about it, right? It's one of those things that I don't think there's downsides to it. I don't think that there's anyone playing Wrath right now that's like, no, I want that slower leveling experience. Like, I don't think that's the case. All of the leveling purists out there, I think they're either playing classic era or, they're at this point they're like, okay, I leveled, however many times already in Wrath, like throw me a bone here. And I think it's just, it's either neutral or positive. That's the only way I see it.
Yeah.
Do you think they're adding it to everything, right? You don't think anybody on like fresh servers are going to be annoyed with this? I don't think so, but
it's a good question. Me and D had a little conversation with some other creators recently.
We did. Yeah. Because there was someone in the content creator Discord that was like, hey, when are you going to open up boosting, like character boosts on the fresh start realms? So I guess on like Sky Fury and Thekal and those fresh realms. And he said that, and I think Bob was quick to be like why, like that's not what fresh start was about.
I
thought that was the whole point.
I made kind of I didn't know the person, and so like I made like a joke like I would make to somebody that I know, with a GIF, and like, ooh, that's kind of gross, bro, but like, and then they replied, I was like, okay, that was probably in bad taste. I apologize.
I knew you were kidding though, so I was like, oh, Bob, Bob's just kidding around. But then I started thinking about it, and like, because what is it? It's like Cargos and Grace for Days and Wiki, and a lot of them rolled on Sky Fury, and they have a raiding guild on that server. And I've talked to a few of them about this, and they're like, yeah, I don't even really like. I could level an alt, but I have to start at level 1, and that feels really bad, right? Like when Wrath is sort of the expansion of alts, I feel like it's just so easy to like, once you get to max level, to like you can do a world tour of heroics, you can do 10 mans, you can do 25 mans, all this stuff. When getting to 80 is the barrier to entry, that feels a little bit bad. So I assume that fresh server people want the Joyous Journeys buff. I assume that for them it will feel like a breath of fresh air, because now at least if they still don't have the boost, at least it's a little bit faster.
Right.
Yep. And when D said that, I came back and was like, I know for a fact the majority of people that I talked to did not want this ever on fresh realms. They never wanted the boost, or they didn't want transfers to their server. But then I got to thinking about it, just like D, and I was like, I pointed out I haven't talked to anyone about this in a long time, so like opinions might have changed. Like a lot of us change our thoughts, and after time goes on, so opinions might be different now. I'd be interested to see what everybody, maybe write in, leave a comment to what you think, and on the YouTube.
It might be good. I don't know if you for you to maybe try to find someone who's only plays on one of the fresh servers, and have them come on to a show and ask them about like how it's been and where they think it should be. Because like I don't play on the fresh servers, but so it would be interesting to hear their perspective on all of this stuff now, like how, like from day one of fresh to where we are now, like how do you like how it's gone? What do you want to change?
Yeah, well, I thought to myself, like maybe I'd make a tune on Cargos's server and play with all of those guys a bit, like not join their raid, but I mean, just kind of hang out with them, type of deal. Like,
Yeah.
but at level 1, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
I think it's exciting, and I think it keeps the game relevant. When everybody hits that flat line, kind of gives you another thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, this Joyous Journeys will help, but I mean, I'm thinking about it in the sense of like, I still have a free boost that I got that I might boost and like level from 70 to 80. Like, that sounds fun to me. Or I might do the DK, 58 to 80. Like, that sounds fun to me. I don't know how fun, like,
I'll tell you what's fun.
Well, a level 1 would be if it wasn't hardcore, right?
I can tell you what's fun. So Season of Mastery ended. We brought our Season of Mastery tunes over. Of course, we were playing Horde on Season of Mastery, so we brought them the Benediction. And it is the best time to run around, and there's absolutely so many people to fight and kill everywhere you go.
Yo, what server were you on?
We were on Jom Gabar.
Okay. Did you guys raid all the way through next?
No, so my wife was trying to get into WoW at the time, so I figured it was a great point to have her start at. So she leveled with me as a priest. I was a warrior from 1 to 60. We did the whole thing. Only did a couple raids on them and kind of just left it there. But when they announced that we could bring them over, I was all excited because that was 2 more 60s.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Fellow Psalm player unite, man. Let's go.
Yeah, man. It was a good time, bro. Especially being a warrior with a pocket healer. I literally told her, just stay behind me. Don't let me die.
Yeah, that's the dream.
Oh, it was great, dude.
That's Bob's life.
That is Bob's life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. He figured it out.
Yeah, right.
I just need to get my wife to play WoW. That's the next. That's the goal, I guess.
Well, mine got pregnant. We're expecting a baby now in February, so she quit, and of course she was like playing Shadow Priest for us, and of course now we're like in that Shadow Priest hole where.
Oh no!
Luckily, we just found one, so now we're good to go on Shadow Priest. But yeah, we were like, we need a Shadow Priest. We need a Shadow Priest there every night. Go get your wife. I'm like, dude, she's still level 70.
Well, congrats though.
Yeah.
Yeah, congrats on the baby.
Excited, yeah, super excited, man. First one.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, I had 2 level 60 hardcore characters, but I couldn't take them to a PvP realm, so I had to move them to. I moved 1 to Pagel and 1 to Atiesh, just like to see. But at least I got to keep the achievement, the Soul of Iron achievement, which was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's big. That was what the whole journey was about, Bob. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean it was cool. I just wish it's I still don't know why we don't have that in Wrath. Like give us that buff. Like it would make people, I think, a lot more excited to play hardcore on Wrath stuff right now. Like just the Soul of Iron buff.
Yeah. Yeah. If it was, I don't know if it would break anything, but yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Yeah. I don't see a downside of just throwing that in, you've built it out somewhere. There's gotta be a way to easily add it. And especially it'd be cool for I mean, I know the hardcore community would be a little bit more willing to play on Wrath if they had like some sort of incentive like that,
Yeah, there's there's still people playing hardcore Wrath. There's still people raiding in hardcore Wrath. But it is, they've been doing 10-man stuff. I don't think they've ever had enough people to do 25-mans. And I don't know how far. I think EU has done better. I don't know if they full cleared Nax, but I think they've cleared like 3 of the wings in 10-man. But yeah, there's still people who play it. It's interesting because I feel like a lot of the hardcore people are like vanilla purists at heart. So it's like when Wrath came out, a lot of people like I think gave it a shot and then immediately realized like, oh, this is something I want to do in vanilla WoW, not so much in Wrath.
See, I guess I'm just like, I like, Vanilla's my second favorite, TBC third, but Wrath's my favorite. Like, and I just feel like I'd have more fun in hardcore with different talents and everything else. Like, I feel like it would make a lot of the classes that are really hard to get over that level 20 hump a lot easier.
Yeah.
Mounts at level 20. Like, I like that stuff. Like it always feels weird to me when I don't have a mount, you know, and so I
What
think
do you
that
mean
would
you
be
don't
cool.
like running across the entire land?
Dude, literally, I think Metagoblin was the first person I heard say it, but he was like, you know, the first 40 levels in Classic WoW is the walking simulator.
Yeah.
Yes, dude.
2005. Oh,
I
man.
remember back in the day getting my epic mount, dude. I remember saving for it for months and months and months.
Mhm. And then when you got it, oh man, it was so you were just
You're
like
zooming, man.
going so fast. Yeah, but yeah, okay. Well, Joyous Journeys is coming back. Classic Go and chat wanted me to remind everyone that December 23rd through 27th is AV weekend. So if you're looking for a big boosting time, that's going to be the time.
Man.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about them doubling that up. We're going to have so many ults.
Yeah.
And something to like give, because this is kind of where I was held back from leveling in Alterac Valley. I just didn't want to be a jerk, right? Because it was always like you come in at a low level and you're really just not helping the BG at all, really. Well, they changed it. I don't know when, but now there's only a Alterac Valley level 80, and there's a 70 to 79 bracket now for Alterac Valley. So you're loading in with all the lobies. So it doesn't feel like you're screwing over level 80s. So it actually feels way, way better. And that was a change that kind of creeped in that I did not see in any notes doing the news ever. It's just, so I don't know if that was an actual change that came in Wrath. It might have been. I don't remember. So
yeah, I didn't know. I just assumed, I assumed it worked the same way it did for the level 60 bracket and the level 70 bracket where you're all lumped together.
Yeah, I thought so too. But yeah, it's now separate. So you don't have to feel bad about going in as a lobby because everybody's there doing the same thing that you want to do. So it's pretty cool.
Remind everybody, do not click the Dire Brew remote when you're in that tunnel.
Oh yeah, don't what was the other one that you could get people to do? The /AFK?
Well, there was always like mages would like start channeling a portal and they'd be like, yo, can you click to like summon the mage table? Like here's a mage table. Everyone come over here, spam click the mage table, and then they would throw up a port to like Stormwind or Orgrimmar.
Yeah, then what we used to do back in the day, I don't know if people still do it. I think you can actually get banned for it now. But back in the day, we used to have a macro that sent someone a tell and then fakely said you're Blizzard and then said, you have been marked AFK in this battleground. Please type /AFK to remove this flag. And you just see like so many people quit out of the BG, but I don't know if people still do that or not.
I think I've seen it. They do like /E when you're typing like in that form.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And it says
/E,
something
that was
weird
it.
like that. And I've seen it before, and I was like, "What is that?" I was like, "I'm not typing AFK anywhere."
Dude, it was but it used to work really well back in the day. But I would never do something like that now. But you know, when I was younger, I was a different person.
The trolls come out of the cave every once in a while, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that does it for the news. Let's go ahead and move into.
Bobby, we need to have a talk about this World of Warcraft Classic. Do I look like I know what a WoW token is?
All right. This week's discussion is going to be all about Hunter and kind of a guide for anybody maybe boosting a hunter, maybe got fresh 80 hunter, want to get into raiding, want to just have, an idea of what they're supposed to do. So we've brought Duranasaur and Barbann to the conversation, and we're going to find out how to play hunter. This could be great because I have no idea how to play hunter.
Let me just start this off with I boosted a hunter and then had zero clue what to do next.
Oh, no.
She didn't even know how to get a pet.
It's definitely
I still don't
overwhelming, but if you figured out Paladin, you should be fine because Paladin overwhelms the hell out of me.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Like hunter, like there's things you have to do that I'm just like that are not inherently like obvious. Like Paladin's overwhelming with the number of spells that you have that you don't use very frequently. That's overwhelming, right? And the fact that they say BOP for something that does not have the initials of BOP. It's very frustrating. But other than that,
I thought we went over this last week. It's now hop.
Yeah.
Hop. Can I get a hop, please?
Yeah. Come on.
All right. Well, okay. So my first question is, what are the specs we're going to be covering? Like, because it might not be worth it. My guess is to cover, say Beastmaster Hunter, because that's not really going to be used. So what are the specs we're going to be covering today with your guys' expertise?
Definitely the other two, in my case at least, marksman and survival.
Yeah, I would say if you're leveling, Beastmaster is still the best way to level. It's still going to be the cushiest way to level, the most straightforward. And then like there's that niche, like if you're doing arenas, then Beastmastery might be the way to go. But once you are at max level and you're doing dungeons and you're doing raids, you are probably either playing survival or marksman.
Okay, cool. All right, well then let's get into it. What are the most important self buffs and consumes, and do they differ between the two specs?
So you're probably using just like Flask of Endless Rage, and then there's like a specific agi food. It's a fish food. It's like 40 agi.
It's called Blackened Dragonfin.
Yeah, so you're not, if you want to actually be min-maxing, like you can always use Fish Feast, like that's fine. But if you want to min-max, you want to use the Dragonfin, and then potions of speed, I guess.
Speed. I use the potions of wild magic only because I'm doing that trap weaving stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'd also add the mammoth treats for your pet.
True. Yeah. So pet food buffs.
You have to feed your pet food buffs?
Yes.
It sounds.
And you have to talk people into buffing your pets, right? And healing your pets.
Yeah.
I think it's not as bad as TBC, thank God. But yes.
Yeah. They're classified as warriors, I believe. So if like for paladins, like pally power and stuff like that, any buffs that they assign to the warrior class, they'll be applied to your pet. If your pet is out and it hasn't just died or whatever. So that's kind of handy. But outside of that, like I'm trying to think of other self buffs. If you're marksman, there's a chance that you have true shot aura, but that might be covered by someone else in your raid. I think it's like blood DKs, I think, provide the same buff.
It's a fury warrior.
Is that still just on marks? But it's the true shot aura?
It's a marksman. It's an AP buff.
Yeah, it's deep. It's 30 points in. It's pretty deep.
Yeah, so it's like a situational thing. I don't like.
It's
no one I know
covered by paladin might too, then, or warrior.
It's a percentage buff. It's not like a set amount. So it actually, I think that it like I know that the might and is it like might and battle shout don't stack, or
they don't. No.
Yeah, but I think that true shot stacks. I think it's a DK buff that also is like a percent AP buff.
I think shamans give it as well, I want to say.
Yeah. So like my guild we don't run marksman hunters right now because they're lower DPS than survival, and the buff is not like the buff is covered. So in terms of just like buffs that you provide the raid as a survival, you can put points into replenishment and help with that, though. A lot of survival hunters these days are opting to not do that because there's actually a higher DPS spec that involves not doing that at all. So, but that's like a conversation to have with your guild, right? Is like how many people do you have running replenishment? Like, are you, because you might be in a guild where maybe you're not able to bring like a ret or shadow priest, so you might need your survival hunters to be spec'd into that.
The majority of the time I've ran into that problem is usually in 10 mans in our guild at least.
Okay.
Not able to bring a ret or don't want to bring a ret? Can we clarify here?
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, a little column A, a little column B, you know?
Yeah.
Even
they
though
asked
our
me if
ret's
I'd go
great.
ret on my pally, and I was like, don't do that to me. What? I don't.
Our ret paladin is great. He's literally 99s across the boards, and he's still like literally right above the tanks. Like, it hurts.
It's a tough one. But yeah, I think that's most of the buffs and consumes. I'm trying to think. I mean, misdirect is probably like the most crucial like thing that you bring to a raid as like a utility thing. It's only on a 30-second cooldown in Wrath, and it doesn't cap out at any number of hits. It's just a flat duration. So you can basically spam it like every 30 seconds nonstop. And if you're coupling it with like explosive trap or volley or grenades, like you can help a ton with AoE threat going into your tank, or even single target in bosses and stuff.
And just because we were doing like 101 stuff, if anybody's interested in it, we have macros that literally they don't even take your targets off. It's like target the tank and then / cast misdirection and then / target of last target, and it'll put you right back on. It's one button, super easy.
Yeah.
And what I do in like 25 man is I have 3 of those macros for however many tanks we're using, and I just use my key bindings to click on them super fast, never breaks stride.
Someone chat's asking if MD is a DPS boost. Yes, in the sense that
you're not going to die.
You're not going to die. That's a big one. The other one is like
you can't die, or
well, you're just less likely to.
Well, because the way it works now here, I can read the tooltip because I'm on. It is the current player or raid member targeted will receive threat caused by the next 4 damaging attacks, and then all attacks taken for 4 seconds after that. So whatever you can do in 4 seconds is going to go all to whoever you misdirected. That includes bombs, traps, volleys, whatever's in the arsenal.
And you don't generate any threat yourself during that time. So it's like, it's sort of a double whammy if you're the hunter, right? Where it's like, not only am I getting all of this damage out for no threat whatsoever, that threat is also going to the tank's threat. So I'm like that much further behind. I have that much more wiggle room. But then also the fact that like, if you're doing, you're probably doing pull timers on bosses for pre-potting and stuff, like, exactly when you can add like that 0 second mark. If you have misdirect up, like you can plow into the boss right away. Like you don't wait at all. There's no reason to. So in that sense, it's absolutely a DPS increase.
Okay.
And for anybody that doesn't know, for anybody that here, let me just clear this up real quick. For anybody that doesn't know, MD means misdirect.
Yeah.
All right, go back.
Yeah, pets is a great question. In Wrath of Lich King, I think universally the wolf pet is the best PvE pet because of the Furious Howl buff that it applies to, I think, you and the wolf. It's just a flat like AP buff that has a fairly short cooldown. But then there's different pets, like depending on whether you're doing like PvP or things like that, or whether you're trying to do like some shenanigans out. Maybe you're trying to like solo dungeons or maybe just for solo leveling. You might use different pets in those scenarios. But Barb can correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're just stuck with wolf pets for the entire expansion.
We are pretty much for the entire expansion. And anybody that's wondering about that AP buff, that's the Ferocious Howl. It increases the melee and attack range power by 320 by the wolf and its master for 20 seconds. Usually you have that macro to like whatever, your multi-shot or your I've seen a lot of hunters macro it to their traps because it's a close cooldown to it.
Yeah. So unlike in vanilla, where the wolf pet is a garbage tier pet for PvE, it's your best pet throughout all of Wrath of Lich King.
Which is so sad because the graphics on it are not the best.
Yeah, you got to go looking for good wolves out in the world. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
You really have to go find a wolf?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go find it and tame it and everything.
Oh, man, Mel.
But I'm telling you,
what?
I boosted a hunter, and I was like, Bob's like, Mel, you should get this pet. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. And I couldn't figure it out. And then my pet ran away. Like, I didn't feed him enough. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Greedy pet.
They did make it a lot easier in Wrath. But yeah, if you boost a hunter, you're going to have a spell in your Beast Mastery spellbook that's just Tame Beast. And so you can go out and you can tame any beast not any beast. You can tame most beasts in the open world that are at or below your level. So you can go out and find a wolf and snag it. And then, yeah, it's so much easier than it was in vanilla. Like, I wouldn't even want to like try to dive into like all the like pet things that go on in vanilla WoW. It's like its own mini game. But in Wrath,
I think it was TBC that I boosted a hunter, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah, it's still bad there too. In Wrath, like, you get them, they have their own talent tree in Wrath of Lich King. So, and there's 3 different types of pets. So there's 3 different talent trees depending on, it's not just like wolves have their own. It's like there's like aggressive, like offensive pets. There's like middle ground
set, and then there's like a hybrid set.
Yeah. So
you can have a wolf for each one of those specs? Or like you can choose which spec your wolf is?
No, so
like,
basically they're categorized like wolves, tigers, lions. They would all be ferocity, I think is what they call it. And then like your tanking pets would be like, it would be bear, crocodile, something else. Those are like your tanking pets. I don't know what the spec for that is called. And then there's like a hybrid of all your like in the middle stuff.
Yeah. I feel like right now we're doing Hunter for Dummies instead of Hunter 101 because I feel like if you have a hunter, you probably know this stuff. But yeah. It's interesting.
It's fine. It kind of adds to like to anyone who maybe is getting started on Hunter or maybe has never played Hunter. There's a lot. The whole pet thing is very interesting. It like I said, it's like its own sort of like.
Isn't there like a spell like Beast Lore you can cast on the beast? It'll like tell you like their general stats before you tame it and everything.
Yeah, and I haven't used that since like, I don't know, original vanilla, but like, cause you could just go online and look it up these days. It's like, why would I go do that? I can just look it up online. But yeah, you could probably do that and it would tell you like which of the talent trees the particular pet type you're looking at is in and stuff like that.
Are some wolves better than other wolves? Like, is there like a
visually, but they're all everything has been normalized in Wrath. Okay. So like back in vanilla, you may have heard about like hunters all wanted Broken Tooth
from Tannerus,
right? From Badlands.
Is it Badlands?
Yeah.
Slightly different color zone.
One of those orange hues. Yeah. So in vanilla, there were pets that had like because it's a rare spawn or something, like it had a different attack speed than pets that are like the exact same pet type. But in Wrath of Lich King, they kind of like got rid of all of that in favor of these talent trees. So you can make your pet fairly unique with the talent trees, even though like everyone's mapped out like here's the highest DPS talent tree spec type of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next is, I just know the DPS classes that I play, but usually soft caps are extremely important to hit first. What are the soft caps you need to shoot for in a hunter?
Hit rating. It's literally what you need, buddy.
Yeah.
And
you just need the 8%?
It's 8% for hunters, like across the board too. So melee white hit cap is like really high, right? Because it's
27%.
Because you deal with like glancing
if you're dual wielding
and things like that. Yeah, if you're dual wielding. For hunters, it's just 8% for all your attacks. If you are a Draenei hunter, or if you're in a party with a Draenei, then it drops down to 7%. But yeah, that's like the only like firm like hit or like cap that you need to worry about is hitting that hit rating. Outside of that, like there's no crit cap that's like anything that hunters have to worry about or anything like that.
And
you're chasing. Go ahead, Bob.
Oh no, you go first.
I was just gonna say, yeah, all you're really chasing on the Hunter and Wrath is hit rating, crit, and attack power. I mean, the haste is nice every now and then. You're not chasing it by any means, but there's no cap, like Durana said, on crit or attack power. Agility, of course, obviously over attack power, but
So
Yeah.
So on Rogue, going over hit, especially for like, I don't know what it's like for assassination, but for combat Rogue, going over hit really isn't all that bad because your offhand white hits give you more energy procs, right? So like, you don't really want to go over. Like once you've hit your spell cap, which is your poison cap, like you don't really want to go over. But going over doesn't really hurt you all that bad because it just kind of helps there. It just doesn't help much. But for a hunter, would you say going over 8% hit is just a complete loss?
I would call it a complete loss because you can go back in your logs and check. Like I'm very adamant about checking mine. I run a set that runs 238 hit rating, which is 7.26% hit rating, and I'm not missing anything as long as that Draenei's in my group. The moment that Draenei's in my group, I've got that little gap, but even then, it's so minuscule that like it's not worth me changing a set of gear out to get there. So once you hit that 8%, I would stop and just go agility and crit after that.
Yeah.
And is the reason you don't care about expertise because ranged shots cannot be dodged or parried? Is that a thing?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So expertise. So in terms of like Barb was hitting on it, like if for prioritizing different stats, like hit is number one. Like you want to hit that hit cap with hit rating, and then after that, it's like agility, because agility gives you ranged attack power as well as crit, and then attack power and crit. And then like way down after that is haste. Haste is just not good. I think it gets better once we swap to marksman, but it just does not scale very well with the way that survival plays. I think once we're marksman, it'll be a little bit better, but it's just like right now it's nothing that you're never like looking for haste gear.
Even then, once we go later on, we'll be chasing armor pen. I believe there is I know there is an armor pen cap on there. We will have a cap, but that's later once we start hitting tier 8.
I was just about to ask that for marksman specifically. I wondered if you'd be going for armor pen because I know combat rogues definitely going to be going for that. I'm pretty sure that warriors want it right now, but like right now, armor pen, until you can hit about 350, 400 on your gear and have a grim toll or equal trinket, you're not really benefiting a ton from armor pen as a combat rogue.
I think the problem with the armor pen too is a lot of the armor pen gear right now has agility rather than strength on it.
Yeah.
For warriors, it's pretty bad. For hunters, like, that's I just forgot about it because it's not something that there's enough of for it to really matter. And then, like you said, expertise doesn't do anything whatsoever for us. Intellect and stamina are actually like fairly decent. I don't know how much you've run into this, Barb, but like it took me a little bit into Wrath to sort of get a sense of like, oh, even though this one piece of gear like has more agi and maybe more crit, more attack power, the fact that this other piece has like 40 or 50 int on it, it actually sims higher because you take talent points that convert your intellect into raw attack power. So
it's like 33 or I could be wrong. It's a high number. It's a high conversion rate.
Yeah. So it's intellect on gear is actually like a pretty substantial thing for hunters as well as stamina.
I ran into that a lot when trading my Sunwell gear for Wrath gear while leveling. Mm-hmm. It was like weird to drop like the socket agility for the stuff that had the intellect, and it was because of that conversion rate. So don't always be scared. Don't trust that add-on that tells you it's whatever 27% upgrade. Do a little research into it, Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about not Pratt, Pawn. Yeah, Pawn, guys, if you're using Pawn, I would definitely recommend going to your class Discord, and most likely you're going to be able to find a pin that's going to tell you what you need to re-enter into Pawn, because the defaults are definitely not always right. So that, 27% upgrade is definitely not always right, and adding your own stats in helps a ton. I don't know if they've improved it or not, but I know a lot of people had to do that in TBC.
Yeah, I was going to say in TBC, there was a point, like I think the hit cap at that point, Duranasaur, correct me if I'm wrong, was like 141 or something. And you could be at 141 hit rating. It would tell you something was an upgrade just for the sole fact that it had hit rating on it.
Some of the sites still do that. Like I think like 80 upgrades will still tell you like, oh, you want that hit piece. And it's like, I'm hit capped 80 upgrades. I don't want that hit piece. Thank you.
Exactly. Yep. I'll tell you, the Grim Toll is I was fortunate enough to get one early on, and that helped a lot with the hit rating problems that I had at the beginning. Now it's kind of just one of those pieces I use when I'm not dropping traps on bosses, but it's definitely a huge piece early on.
Awesome. And this, speaking of intellect, does it add any crit to certain moves? Is it only certain moves that it adds crit to?
No,
or does it just not add crit?
So that's that kind of dives into this like interesting rabbit hole. Like survival hunters cast like spells, right? Like we have like explosive shot does fire damage, and like explosive trap does like fire damage. All of that stuff is based, I believe, off of your melee stats. So like your explosive shot hit is like your melee hit, and its crit is your melee hit or melee crit. Like you're not actually really worried about like the spell power coefficients or anything like that.
Okay. Yep. It's the same with rogue poisons. Like they scale based on attack power and not based on anything. Like a lot of people thought when Simonize came out and said to use the spell blade for doing Fan of Knives, they thought, oh, because it's got the spell power, and that's not it. It's because it's an extremely slow dagger, and benefits from the way Tricks works. Daggers specifically get an uptick in damage, like a percentage higher damage than every other weapon that rogues can use. So that's why it's so good.
Which goes back to hunters, why flame cap does not work. Flame caps do not work for us. Stop buying them. Stop feeding them. They're like 34 gold each or something, and I see hunters using them everywhere.
Yeah.
I need to go farm those.
They don't work for us. I promise you.
But they do work for fire mages. They're selling off the charts right now. But yeah, that's a good point. So you covered the stat priority. Let's get into some rotations. What's like a basic single target rotation opener, and then just rotation? And try and actually name the stuff for them so that people that are new aren't confused by any acronyms.
So what I would do, like in an ideal perfect world, and obviously this is not every boss, but would lay a trap, an explosive trap, in the spot the boss is going to be tanked before the fight even engages. And I would open up, of course, with a misdirect on the tank that is going to be tanking. And I would open up with an explosive shot on the boss after that into a multi-shot that I have my gloves bound to as well. And then I would put up a Serpent Sting. And after that, I would use my steady shot until my explosive shot comes back up. And then again, multi-shot.
Yeah. And then once you're in the middle of a fight, there's a balancing act, because your explosive trap is, in addition to being a ton of damage, especially if you are glyphed into it, which you should be, whether you're marksman or survival, you should be glyphed into explosive trap. When that is ticking, it can proc lock and load, which is a survival talent that it removes the cooldown on your explosive shot for, I guess it's like for 2 explosive shot casts.
I think it's mana free too, isn't it?
It might be. So essentially, in the middle of your rotation, you might be going through your rotation and everything's fine and dandy, and then all of a sudden you get a lock and load proc, and ideally you're going to shoot off 3 explosive shots, and you will hopefully have a macro set up so that instead of casting rank 4 into another rank 4 into another rank 4, you actually do rank 4 into rank 3 into rank 4, because explosive shot has a dot to it. I think that ticks twice after the shot lands. And if you just spam rank 4s, the dot will override itself. But if you go rank 4 into rank 3 into rank 4, it'll actually apply 2 separate ranks of the dot. So you sort of get to double dip that damage while shooting, while continuing to, utilize your GCDs appropriately and getting that explosive shot back on cooldown again as quick as possible. And so that comes up randomly during fights with lock and load procs, but then you also always want to keep Serpent Sting up on the boss. You want to actually be, for most bosses, running in and redropping explosive trap. So whenever that's off cooldown, because it does a ton of damage and because it procs your lock and load, you want to have that like as close to 100% uptime as possible. And so on some fights, it's absolutely awful. Like my Ixna and dragons, like Saffron and Sarth, like it's terrible to do. You can use things like rocket boots, you can use disengage, you can try to make it work, and I think in most cases it is worth trying to do. It can sometimes, though, you run in and you drop it and you're like, well, that's definitely under my Ixna, and then you get out and you just watch the trap not do anything. And it's the worst feeling.
And I hate to say it, guys, with Ulduar testing, it's getting no better. So
my Exodus got a weird box, though. I see so many people having problems positioning my Exodus really bad.
Yeah. So that's sort of, and then as soon as you get down to 20%, it's your priority is kill shot. So if you have like multiple things, like if your Serpent Sting is running out, if your explosive shot's coming off cooldown, if your explosive trap is coming off cooldown, and your kill shot, if they're all coming off cooldown at the same time, which happens, your priority is probably to get that kill shot off, get an explosive shot off as you run in, drop a new trap, get out. Like that's it. You do end up juggling a lot because you have things procking and your rotation getting like messed around with depending on those procs and things like that. And I didn't even mention really Black Arrow, because Black Arrow is a shadow damage dot that shares cooldown with explosive trap. So on fights where you are having a really hard time weaving in those explosive traps, if like I'm not going to get a trap down, it's just not going to work out, maybe the boss is moving too much, maybe the hitbox is awful, you might as well throw out that Black Arrow, because it can also proc lock and load.
Yeah, and that's where the majority of the damage. I mean, I don't want to get into specifics, and somebody correct me, but it's a majority of our damage is going to be that explosive shot.
Yeah, just stacking them up. Yeah.
What is lock and load?
Lock and load it's a talent that you spec into in the survival tree. And what it does is there's a chance on every tick of damage from either your explosive trap or your Black Arrow, which share cooldown, or there's a chance on like freezing trap, like when the freezing trap like ticks on slowing mobs. Basically what it does is it gives you a buff that says that your next 2 explosive shots no longer have a cooldown. So I think explosive shot normally has a 6-second cooldown. So you actually get to just like fire them off like in rapid succession.
Which is why that 4-3-4 that we call it, it's rank 4, rank 3, rank 4. You get to spam it because rank 3 and rank 4 will not eat the debuff from the one before, because you're putting a different rank on.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there differences between AoE opening and AoE rotation?
So trap's still going to be a huge part of your damage. You're going to want to be dropping traps. And what I like to do is, I can link it in chat too, is I macro my bombs and sappers to my traps just because everything's so cheap nowadays.
Yep.
And
I do that.
I'm just constantly. And then another thing I can link as well is a volley macro I use that it takes the circle, the green circle when you drop the AoE before you actually use it, where you're positioning it takes that away and it just drops it at your cursor.
Yeah.
I have that for Mass Dispel.
Yeah. So when you're in like it's mostly, there are a few bosses like in Nax right now where you would use volley, though you'll probably get made fun of for padding the meters. but it's mostly a trap scenario, or sorry, a trash scenario where you're like chain pulling multiple trash packs together, or maybe it's just a big trash pack. Ideally, you will again cast misdirect on the tank, run in. Maybe on the way in, you like throw out an explosive shot, but the goal is to get an explosive trap out and then start volleying. And that's going to be like you're going to be doing, as much DPS as anybody else, almost. Maybe not rogues on certain big trash pulls, but you can actually do a lot of trash damage as a hunter if you're consistently getting traps down and volleying right off the bat.
Any hunters using the Fell Striker? Is that a thing?
Not yet.
No, nothing. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's really any gimmicky items for hunters. Like there's no real old world stuff or anything like that. Like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, like there was that like volley rank weaving that was going on, but that got taken away. So that's not a thing. So I think right now, like the only weird tech that we have is that like that 4-3-4 explosive shot, like using rank 4 into rank 3 into rank 4 when you get those lock and load procs. Outside of that, we're not doing anything super cheeky.
Okay, so is there anything else? Like I want to move on to like oh shit buttons and defensive cooldowns, but is there anything else like you have to keep up or anything during the raid that I can think of, like best practices or something?
Pet management, I would tell. I mean, I know we talk about pets, but pet management still, like I know on Sarth, watching that fire wave, dude. That fire wave will kill your pet, and if you're like not expecting to replenishment and you're running the focused aim talent, that gives you whatever 1-2% damage increase just for having your pet alive. You don't want to lose that. Another thing that a lot of hunters don't know: your improved tracking. There's weak auras that will target or track the target you are actually targeting, because you get like a 5% bonus if it's humanoid, giant, beast, whatever.
Yep. Yeah. There's a few smaller things. I would say the Hunter Discord right now seems to be at a really, really good place in terms of information. It's been pretty good since TBC. Back at the start of Classic, back in like 2019, I would go in there every once in a while and I'd be like, these guys are spouting some weird stuff. But I think right now with Wrath, they are doing a very, very good job. So they have great macros, they have great tips and tricks. There's a lot of good guides on like this rotational stuff. And I can get you a link to the Hunter Discord so that you can put it in the notes. They're a great resource right now. And then there's like good sims out there too.
There's great guys on there that will help you at any point. I've had problems and people that respond instantly. They're great people. Yeah,
so that's a good one. We didn't really touch on the marksman rotation. It is a bit more simple because there's nothing in it like lock and load. Like you don't have any proc based shots or rotational mechanics. So for a marksman, you still get a misdirect out on the tank, and then I think you're opening with a serpent sting into a chimera shot. And chimera shot, it's sort of similar to like warlocks have certain spells and abilities that refresh their dots so they don't have to continually reapply them. Chimera shot will continually refresh your serpent sting and the chimera shot will do more damage because of serpent sting being up on the boss. So you get into this rotation of, after you've started the fight, doing chimera shot into aim shot, and then filling with steady shots. And then it's pretty standard. I think it's supposed to be a lot easier. But I think we're still going to be trap weaving. So you're still going to be running in and dropping explosive traps.
So chat caught us slipping, Durana. How could we forget the old
Hunter's Mark?
Hunter's Mark, dude.
So our guild, Hunter's Mark, yeah, you do want to get Hunter's Mark up. It is a DPS increase. They changed it a lot from Wrath or from TBC, sorry. So it's nowhere near as good as it was in TBC unless you're spec'd like pretty deep into Marksman. So once you end up going Marksman, you always want to have it up. Like it's an insane DPS increase, I'm pretty sure. As Survival, like it gives some extra attack power, and then someone can always spec into it. like even if you're running like 2 or 3 survival hunters, you might want to have one of them spec into it just to give some extra attack power. But like my guild hasn't had any of our hunters do that yet, because I don't know if we've crunched the numbers to see if like their loss of DPS by putting points into it is outweighed by, you know, the gain that everyone else gets.
Yeah, I don't think you'll run into that issue till we get to like Hodir hard mode. Because I'm telling you, that timer is stiff, man.
Yeah. But yeah, Hunter's Mark, you definitely want to get out there. And it'll become more important once we're marksmen.
All right. Let's get into these oh shit buttons. And thought it was interesting. You talked about disengage, but heard a lot of hunters talk shit on disengage. So let's get into some oh shit buttons.
So the problem with disengage is that you have to be in combat. Just give it to us out of combat.
What's it do?
It shoots you back. Here, let's read the tooltip. It attempts to disengage you from combat. Leaping backwards can only be used in combat. So if I had to take a guess, I mean, depending on the angle, obviously, if you're downhill, it's going to be further. If you're uphill, it's going to go nowhere. But it launches you backwards. I don't know, somewhere in the range of 10 to 12 yards.
Yeah, you can also, like, if you jump and use it, you'll go even further, right?
Ooh, the tech.
Yeah, there's some tech.
And I've seen some guys even have their parachute cloaks bound to it.
Yeah, then you'll float even further. A lot of it, like the most of the time that I use it in dungeons and raids, I actually am using it to get to move forward. Which is frustrating at times.
So you turn around and moonwalk basically backwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, use your mouse and then you hit it and then you turn around again real quick with a double click. What I like to use it for is when I'm trap weaving, and a lot of people will shit on it, to move forward to the boss. I'll literally turn my camera, hit it real quick with a keybound, drop the trap, and then run out.
I think, I think there are like optimal ways. I haven't looked into too much with like disengage usage. I know that like for certain bosses, a lot of the bosses have different hitboxes, right? There's a lot of bosses where if you use disengage, you're actually either going to you're just going to overshoot that weaving window.
Yeah.
But then there's bosses like, I think it's like Gluth is a good example. Gluth in like a Nubricon, where it's like, it's actually like perfect. Like if you like either are right on the cusp of melee range and you like turn, you can disengage straight in and drop a trap and then run back out, or you can run and drop a trap, disengage, and you were like immediately right outside of melee range. Like it's a pretty useful thing for the trap weaving. And I think like what Barb said, in Ulduar it's going to be even a bigger deal, because so many of those bosses are just big hitbox monsters. So you're probably going to be using it on every single boss fight just to help like get in, drop a trap, and get back out.
There's even just because I ran into it today, there's like that boss with the arms. I forget his name, starts with a K.
Is it Kolagard?
Yeah, you can't even drop traps on him because technically his hitbox is like, or his feet are like under him, like on the floor. It's horrible.
Yeah. So black arrow time. At least until we're marksmen, which I need to check in with the Hunter Discord, because I think that now that there's been more data mining of the new gear from Ulduar, I've heard as much as like as soon as you get your new range weapon out of Ulduar that you'll go marksman and it'll be higher DPS. So we'll see how early that happens. Back in the day, it wasn't until TOC, but with all the like the gear buffing and stuff, we might be going marksman even earlier.
Well, I mean, just to throw this out there, I remember back in the day, I think a lot of the hunters were actually, during Nax, were actually Beastmaster, because this whole trap weaving thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's new. Like, that's not something that was really used back in the day.
You'll have some of the guys claim they were doing it in 2008.
Oh, yeah, everybody claims, yeah.
I don't believe it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. There's like, it's kind of funny now because it's like so many people are like, oh man, I'm looking forward to going marksman so that I can stop trap weaving. And then everyone in the Hunter Discord's like, well, don't get too excited.
Actually,
even when we're marksmen, it's still going to be a DPS increase to trap weave. So we're stuck with that.
And it's a significant, I think it's like 500-600 DPS. Like it's a lot.
It's a ton. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, well, what are some, like, what are the other oh shit buttons? I mean, we didn't hit feign death or, how to use that. Because I assume you use it like for an aggro drop, like I would use Vanish.
Yeah. It's tough because like there aren't very many instances where I feel like I'm gonna pull threat these days. There's like Resuvius.
Bad, or is that because hunters just don't have threat problems?
It's because we're throwing out so many misdirects. That like negates our threat and gives it to the tank.
Yeah, the way you think about it is every 30 seconds, 4 seconds plus 4 auto attacks, whatever that equates to, all that translate immediately to the tank. So if you do mathematically, we'll call it 5 seconds flat goes. So 10 seconds out of every minute, all the threats go into the tank.
The only
death, you're probably not misdirecting enough.
If you're feigning death, where I find it most useful is like trash packs where we're pulling back to back so fast that like my misdirect is not up. I'll drop a trap, feign death, and then start volleying.
Yeah. The only boss fights where I've had an issue is like it's like a Nubricon or Faralina, and it's because you can get threat out for the tank like on everything, but if I'm like fully bloodlusted and like potion of speed and like hyperspeed accelerators and everything, and I'm just spamming volley, and it's like it's casting at like a third of the cast time or channel time that it normally does, and I'm slamming 8 mobs, eventually I'm going to pull threat on one of them. Like it's going to happen. So I have died on Faralina because of that. So that's a fight where I'm like, I need to make sure that I feign death like a couple volleys into this. But for the most part, it's not really a problem.
Interesting, because that's kind of what I was getting at. I mean, threat's only scary at this point, in my opinion, on the boss pull. After that, like it's really pretty easy for most fights. But like I'm using Vanish mostly on trash, and it's when we were going too fast. I didn't have tricks up, but I still engaged as fast as I normally do. And then I'm like, I've got to Vanish now. But there are fights, and this is you probably don't have to worry about this as a hunter because you're ranged, but on Patchwork, I vanish pretty early in the fight normally because I do not want to be even close to, if you're two taking third, threat or fourth threat. Like I don't want to even be close, so I'm definitely always vanishing at some point pretty early in Patchwork just to not die. But it's a DPS loss for me to do so. Is it also a DPS loss for you guys?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you lose that GCD.
Yeah. And
mana.
I feel like a little bit of mana. I feel like it's also if you hit feign death and you immediately cast again, there's like a pretty good chance the feign death will not go off, type of thing. It feels like feign death still has the like 500 MS spell batching that we had back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of times where I feel like feign death still has that. It's like the only spell in the game that still has it, and it's pretty annoying.
Yeah, and just for anybody that's going to correct me in the comments, I'm talking about Combat Rogue, who does not benefit from coming out of stealth buff like Assassination Rogue does. I know Assassination should work it in probably to everything because of that buff. We don't have that buff. I just have to use it for getting out of stuff. But yeah.
I feel like Bub's justifying something that nobody asked a question to.
Hey, man, there's not a ton of people playing combat at the moment. So, like, a lot of people, like, it's a completely different gearing process and everything.
The YouTube comment before they're able to post the YouTube comment, right?
Oh, they'll still post it. They'll start typing it out before he gets to this clarification.
Yep, and they'll they'll come back and write back and be like, "Oh, you covered this later." But hey, more comments, the better. So more power to you.
Hey, back to the Patchwork thing with the threat. That is the scariest thing in the world to do as a hunter, to run in there and drop a trap, bro. It is so scary.
Oh yeah, I like at least at the start of the fight because you could. There's like a world where you could end up like accidentally passing up like the second two tanks as your misdirect fades and you get a couple shots in and then you run in to drop a trap. Like every single time I clinch up because I'm like,
I do too, dude. It's scary.
I don't know.
Have you ever done it?
I have not gotten killed yet.
If my guildies are in chat, they're about to fry me for it.
You did do it? You pulled threat once?
Multiple times.
Oh, jeez.
See, now Duranasaur is just going to be even more nervous about it. He's like, man, it was hypothetical before.
Jeez. Yeah.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah, and I don't know about your raise, but that second tank always just seems to be just like really low on the threat. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to trick him again. I'm going to trick him again. Or I'm going to trick him again.
Yeah.
They're also really low on just their health is usually really low because they're the ones taking all the hatefuls.
Yeah. So. Which is, that's when you would theoretically get hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, you as a healer, can dip and stuff, but like dipping is such a big
it doesn't really
DPS
matter though
loss.
Because honestly it doesn't really matter because the amount of health that you lose by dipping, they're still like the second tank is constantly going to very low health, right? So unless you're sitting at like
that's why everybody's trying to use a stam a bear tank because they actually could get up to like 60 and 70k health, so therefore they actually don't go below, which like makes it a lot easier. But like if you have just a paladin, warrior, or DK tank, like they are gonna dip below what you can
just deal with it.
Yeah. So someone in chat asked if we ever MD the off tank on patch or any other fights. Yeah, that's one of those fights where it comes in handy, like what Barb was saying, to have like either multiple macros or some kind of easy method set up to be able to misdirect like basically anyone on the fly or any of the tanks on the fly. Because there are times where it's like, oh, like the off tank's threat is actually garbage today.
Probably a mouse over.
Yeah.
What I do is a mouse over focus macro, and my focus target is the one my tricks is going to.
Yeah.
What I do is I have them bound to F1, 2, 3, just to different tanks.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
So yeah, that is a thing that comes up for sure, where it's like in certain boss fights, if there's ads or if you need that cushion like on patchwork, sometimes you have to on the fly like change who you're misdirecting to, and if you don't have something set up to be able to like switch or like select that target without like clicking off the boss, like you can just lose a ton of DPS and stuff. So that feels bad.
Are you glad that you don't? Do you guys still do any sort of melee weaving, or it's trap weaving now?
So that's a great question.
Yeah.
Melee weaving is dead because it now like it's all the same swing timer now. So your ranged attack is on the same swing timer as your melee attack. So like when we run into drop traps, I usually like queue up a raptor strike on my way in. But if that does go off, when I run out, like my auto shot is not going to just immediately be ready to go. Like it's going to be on the swing timer because they share the same one. Versus in vanilla and in TBC, they were completely separate swing timers. So you would double dip essentially, but you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, the one I linked is the one in chat I use. It queues up a raptor stripe and a bomb. When I drop the trap, it drops the bomb like at my feet, queues up a raptor strike, and does the trap all at the same time while I'm in there, and then I back out and start back with the range attack.
Okay, cool.
Do you think it's weird that you use attack power but you have mana? I feel like that's weird to me.
Honestly, I think it's weird, but just from playing Hunter for so long, it was more weird when we got Focus. I kind of got away from Hunter at that point, so it's just preference.
When do you get Focus?
Oh my
gosh. It Kata or Mist?
It's one of them.
It's one of those two coming up. It's not very
I think it might be like in Kata, it might be with a spec or something. Like you may only have it if you're a certain spec. And then I think by Mist, it's all hunters use focus. And I've never played a hunter with focus, so they're a mana class to me. That's just what
it just felt more like a rogue when I played it at the time. It wasn't.
Doesn't it feel weird
Which
that they're a
feels
mana
good,
class?
right?
Like mana classes, one
Well,
like int and
While we were on the
I
topic,
want it.
we could go into aspect weaving. Aspects are on their own GCD now, so you can aspect weave in and out what you're supposed to do is aspect weave to Viper, and you into your steady shots, into your rotation. It's usually 1 to 2, depending on how much haste you have, and then you just switch back to Dragon
I
Hawk.
feel like you just talked a whole different language, and I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, it's awful. It's an awful thing.
a lot going on.
Because we do.
Like, I wasn't even going to bring it up.
Well, because we do have mana problems occasionally. Like if you don't have like wisdom on the boss, if you don't have the right raid buffs, if your kill times are slower, you're gonna have mana problems as a hunter, especially if you're trap weaving and everything. And yeah, the way you deal with that is you swap from aspect of the Dragonhawk, which is your like range attack power self buff, to aspect of the Viper, which gives you higher MP5 and you restore mana every time you deal damage. And they took aspects off of the GCD, so you can swap between them pretty efficiently, but you don't. Like if you're in Viper, if you're in aspect of the Viper, when you Serpent Sting, like that Serpent Sting is garbage now. Because when you're in Viper, I think all of your damage is cut in half, and it'll snapshot it. So you don't want a Serpent Sting when you're in Viper. You don't want to drop an explosive trap when you're in Viper. You don't really want to explosive shot when you're in Viper, because that has a dot. And
About snapshotting, I know we've talked about this before, but I really don't understand what this means.
So snapshotting, it takes whatever your current like buffs or debuffs are and applies them to like a dot, or applies them to like a pet that you summon or something, right? So aspect of the Viper being something that just cuts your damage in half. So if you have aspect of the Viper on and you shoot a Serpent Sting, which is it's like a 12-second dot.
It goes for each of those ticks.
So like you could be in aspect of the Viper, shoot off a Serpent Sting, and then swap back to aspect of the Dragonhawk. That Serpent Sting still does damage based on you having that 50% debuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it has snapshotted that moment where you were weaker, where you were shittier. Usually snapshotting is about like taking advantage of like, oh, my trinkets popped, I popped a haste pop, bloodlust is up, all these things. Now I'm going to cast now I'm going to summon Gary, and Gary's going to be super powerful. Or I'm going to throw
Gary.
like warlocks want to toss up like they want to toss up like corruption, I think, when their crit and is up at the highest that it can be, and when they have like the highest crit that they can have, like crit and any sort of attack or damage modifier, like percent damage modifier. Theirs is weird, but yeah, that's
tricks and all that.
Yeah,
got it. Thanks.
Okay,
sorry, tangent.
Any other oh shit buttons?
I like deterrence, dude. I feel like it's one that's slept on.
What?
Deterrence, when activated, increases the parry chance by 100%, reducing all range attacks will hit you by 100% and grants you 100% deflection to spells when active for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's a big one. You can get out of like whatever, dude. I know on KT, I like to use it when the Frost Volley goes out.
Oh, that's smart.
You can deflect that off you. It's definitely something that can save you, dude. I have not yet. We joke about using it in the Twilight Blast because I've been hit by a Twilight Blast before. I don't know if it works, but my guild's like, fucking, use it.
I feel
what
like
is the Twilight Blast?
That's like the void zones.
Yeah, the void zone thing.
Oh,
these are like.
I don't think that would work.
Yeah, I don't think it would work, but they're
you're a
yelling at me
hunter
for
and
that.
you get hit by the Twilight Blast.
I have before.
Okay.
We were doing a Sarth, and like I think that like we were killing one of the side drakes, and like I ran in to drop a trap, and because of my camera angle, I didn't see where the void zone came up. So I dropped the trap, I jumped, I disengaged, it threw me out right into the void zone. Void zone went off, and I died.
No,
And I was just like, I think I queued up my mic, and I was just like, fuck! no, and then just like what happened? I was like, nothing.
Nothing.
See, that's the type of tech that's going to be really good for everybody to know with their class going into Ulduar hard modes and stuff. Like, for instance, rogues, they might not even have fate on their bars, but if you read it, it's changed now, and not only does it decrease aggro, but it decreases AoE damage to you for a certain amount of time. So there's a lot of encounters that can really help out your overall raid with the amount of healers you need to bring, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it all kind of adds in. So that's a
And
a
I
good
used
one.
to have Fade as like a very like convenient key, and I don't know where it is now. There's been like maybe like 2 or 3 times where I was like, shit, I need to fade, and I don't know what it's bound to anymore. But that was like a very popular button that I had to push, and I think it changed too. I think it does something different now too.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I definitely like, because we'll do like big bubble pulls where we'll grab like 5 or 6 trash packs out, like our pally tank will go and group them all up. And when you have deterrence activated, you can't attack, but you can still drop traps, and you can still sapper. So you can run in to the paladin tank who's got like all these trash mobs like just sitting on top of him, and you can pop deterrence, run in, sapper, drop a trap, and even if you get aggro before everything gets blown up by everybody doing the same thing, you're gonna either like reflect the spells or you're gonna parry everything.
Okay.
Another one that's really good, Master's Call. I feel like a lot of people don't use that. The tooltip on that one: your pet attempts to remove all root and movement and parrying effects from itself and its target, and causes your pet, or from itself and you, and causes your pet's target to be immune to all such effects for 4 seconds. That's a lot of things, dude. Any kind of Nova, any kind of root, any of that stuff. I know today alone on Hodir, I found it super useful when he does the Nova thing to you and you're stuck on the floor. You can pull yourself out and the whole raid was stuck there. I was like, oh, this feels weird.
That's good to know. I feel like they were trying to make it so that no one could break those. So I wonder if Blizzard knows that.
Did I just get us in trouble?
Yeah, right.
We'll just move on real quick.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
Well, speaking of moving on, I do have raid very soon. But is there anything else you guys want to add here at the end here before we close this out?
I'd just like to give a shout out to my guild, Diamond, on Benediction Alliance side.
You'll get.
Oh, you want to do that later?
You'll get a chance to do that.
Oh, okay.
This is just hunter stuff.
Yeah.
Hunter stuff?
Yeah, just ending out the hunter stuff here.
Learn to use distracting shot when the tanks die, and learn to kite with the what is it? Disengage.
And boots, yeah.
Yeah, and boots and stuff. You can get really good with stuff like that. Don't forget to use your what do you call those things? The bandages on your pet. I have that macroed with my men pet.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Pet, they run away.
They do. You can actually get a minor glyph that allows your min to pet to also increase their happiness.
Yes.
So then you rarely have to feed them. Fun fact. Yeah.
That sounds awful.
There's so
much.
Yeah, there's so much stuff with hunters that it's tough to dive into like all the little things, because I feel like we could go off on weird tangents. But yeah, I would say like if you're getting started, just remember you can tame a beast. That's an important thing. So go out and tame a pet. Feed that pet, keep it around. Maybe get a minor glyph to help with that stuff, and then yeah, I would just like hop on and mess around with the different specs and things, and cruise on over to the Hunter Discord, because again, great resource.
Yeah, if I could suggest anything, definitely level engineering as a hunter too. It's a huge part of your damage.
Yeah, someone in chat's asking about major glyphs. I'm for survival. It's explosive shot, kill shot, explosive trap. Once you go marksman, I think it's chimera shot, aim shot, explosive trap. Does that sound right?
It does sound right. I think at one point they switched to Serpent Sting and Ulduar, but for now, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see,
Or maybe that's survival. I could be wrong.
for like combat rogue, there's quite a few different ones you could use, like based on it. Do you care about raid DPS? Do you care about personal DPS? Some of it's like, there's different talks about like, should you even use like certain ones, but then 99 parsers use it's like all over the board for combat. I've been trying to figure that out. So is it
I think
pretty much across the board like agreed for hunters?
For survival right now, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there might be some finicky stuff once we move into like later tiers of content, like what Barb was saying. I think that, yeah, it might change up a bit once we are more like armor pin focused, and more like, and it may even be that you have like a single target spec with that has more single target glyphs, and then you have like more of an AoE spec with AoE glyphs.
Oh yeah. I mean, the glyphs can also, like the use of the glyphs for combat rogues are very different depending on if you're going to do a long fight or a short fight. Like rupture in a long fight is huge, but replacing that with adrenaline rush in a short fight is huge. So it just like,
I wish you could switch out your glyphs and not have to like delete them.
Yeah, like you could just learn. Learn what they are.
I'd be like,
and then
nope,
swap
I
them
don't want
whenever
this
you
one in right now. I want to put this one in and put this one back in my bag or something,
Yeah.
be a lot.
At least they're cheap right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're super cheap.
But yeah.
I feel like for the priest, there's not a good enough one. Like that switching it out with my mind control one for that one boss just feels so bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
that's like, yeah.
That's going to end out our beginner's guide of hunters. Thank you guys so much for that. I'm going to start closing us out. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded. You can also follow the Mash Those Buttons Network at the Mash Network. If you want to send us an email, something long form, or just want to tell us a story, whatever, or want to tell me I'm dumb and, I'm the worst part of the podcast, you're not the only one that says that. But just send those to wcrpodcast@gmail.com. Dude, it's so funny. There was a comment on something a while back where they're like, how does this guy get on a podcast? The guy in the Chiefs hat was an idiot. I was like, and I wrote back, I was like, easy. You just be the creator of the podcast. All right. If you'd like to join our Discord and interact with the host of this show or any show on the MASH network, it's mash.gg/Discord. How can you help the podcast? Ratings and reviews help. Spotify stars on iTunes, and reviews help a ton. Leaving comments and liking and hitting that bell on the YouTube version helps now too. It's it's actually getting views now for, I don't know, the last 6 months to a year. So like helping out there can help a ton. Patreon, you can join our Patreon. You can get the raw cut of the pod pretty fast after recording. And that's if you're a tank or healer tier. And then any tier gets the ad-free audio version. So if you want it ad-free and don't feel like hitting that skip 15 seconds button a few times, then go ahead and join us there. Patreon at Warcraft Reloaded. And then also, again, Rested XP, link in the description, code Reloaded or code Duranasaur. It'll help you a ton, and it helps us a ton, and it helps a good company a ton. So yeah, any help you can give anybody there. And if you have another creator you like, I bet you they have a code. Just ask them. So yeah, get it for you, not for us. All right.
I mean, or for us, whatever. I'm just kidding.
Mel, where can we find you?
You can find me trying to tame a pet on Benediction. I'm going to go figure out, if that spell is in my spell book. It's probably not. It's probably what I'm missing. Forgot to train. But yeah, that's about it.
All right. And Duranasaur, where can we find you?
Twitch.tv/Duranasaur or Twitter @Duranasaur24 or YouTube Duranasaur.
Awesome. And shout outs, anything? Do you stream at all? Anything, Barb? Give us everything.
I don't have anything, but you can definitely find me in the game. Barbann, Thorpe Hunter. You can find me you probably find me in Nax right now. You can find me on a druid, Lame Lozen. You guys, I'm willing to help any hunters that need help. I love helping new people. So if you can find me, catch me.
What about your shout out to your guild?
Oh yeah, my guild. I want to say my guild's been great to me, dude. I came from a dad guild at one point. They were great to me too. Now I'm in Diamond. Our guild master, Lead Crew and Impose are great. They're always looking for people. We have 5 raid teams all days of the week, all different times, all different levels. You guys looking for a home? You can find us. I'll give Bob a link to the applications. They're all awesome people. They're all willing to help. So.
Awesome, and that is Diamond on.
It is Diamond on Benediction Alliance side.
It'd be hilarious if you were on Horde side. I'd be like, big ups, brother.
We do. We have a clique of guys though that are out there, so watch out.
We do too. Like, it's like I'm like scared that like my guild's gonna like grief me one night on stream or something. Like they're gonna hunt me down.
It's a great time, dude. You can definitely tell it's active if you go to the Neutral Auction House because there's all kinds of stuff on there.
Oh, wow. All right. I still have a boost, so maybe I'll make a horde.
Come on down, dude.
Don't do that.
Oh, man. All right. And you can find me on Twitter @Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can find me on Twitch, streaming pretty regularly @BlazinBob. And yeah. I think that's going to be it. Let's get out of here, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.